Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
All right. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I saw you on the Danny Jones podcast, and I've read a lot of your tweets and Twitter and just the entire ordeal that you've been through since the beginning of COVID. And so I felt like it would be very educational for people to hear your perspective.
Well, I appreciate you continuing to talk about COVID because I think a lot of people are sick of it. I'm certainly ready to move on. But
I am too, but
it's
just people need to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Exactly.
You know?
And nothing's happened, really. Nothing's been corrected.
No. Not only has nothing been corrected, I was just watching an argument on television where they were trying to argue for vaccinating women who are pregnant.
Oh, right.
It's
It's insane. I mean, there's a golden rule of pregnancy, right? You don't experiment on pregnant women. You don't experiment on an unborn child.
You're not even supposed to eat sushi.
Exactly, right. But we're going to put this modified mRNA technology into these women who, early treatment. We have early treatment. COVID is no longer a threat. We're dealing, at one point it was more than a cold, but not now. Why in the world would we give them to pregnant women or children?
The only thing that makes sense is money.
Right. Well,
It's the only thing that makes sense.
Ego and
Ego, meaning because they've already recommended it, because they don't want to admit that it's not effective. They don't want to admit their side effects.
I mean, we have hard facts showing it should be pulled off the market. I mean, any other product would have been pulled a long time ago. If this were an antibiotic and we'd seen all the carnage from an antibiotic, it would have been yanked off long ago. It should have been yanked off in the first month. There's no other explanation than there's fraud, there's corruption, there's ego, there's money, but it's not science.
No, and there's a lot of people that, for whatever reason, they have this very rigid ideology that the pharmaceutical drug companies are to be trusted, and we should trust the science, and that all these organizations, whether it's the FDA or whatever it is that's connected to these assertions, they should be trusted, not just the average doctor who's talking about these side effects and all these different things that they're experiencing with their patients.
Yeah, I mean, I trusted them when the pandemic started. I mean, I didn't think that the shots would work necessarily, but I trusted them. I didn't think they were going to hurt us.
Why didn't you think they would work?
Because they were rushed to the market. I knew the flu shots were already iffy. We're dealing with a virus that mutates. We've never been able to vaccinate against a cold, which, it's a rapidly mutating virus. It's been tried before, and it's failed.
But if you don't mind, please tell everybody what your background is in medicine.
I'm private practice, solo physician. I'm not head of the Mayo Clinic. I'm just a, neighborhood ear, nose, and throat doctor that sort of got tangled up in this inadvertently. And I always thought when the pandemic started, I thought, well, this will be the hospital. This will be a chaos in the hospitals. I never envisioned getting wrapped up in this at all. I trained at Stanford, and then I moved to Texas after residency. And then I worked in a small private practice for 7-8 years. Then I started having a bunch of children, and I pretty much gave up medicine. I mean, I took a 7-year sabbatical. I wasn't even sure I was going to go back, but then I just had this itch that needed to be scratched, and I opened up a solo practice 6 months before the pandemic started.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
What timing.
I know. Why? Why did I do it?
You could have been out.
I know.
Yeah, well, sometimes the universe has a calling for people,
It's been a very interesting journey. I mean,
so take us through what happened with you at the very beginning. So COVID starts making its way across the world.
Yeah, so I had people coming in with respiratory tract infections that were stubborn. They were not, the typical colds. And there was all this, news that there's this virus from China. But, you watch something on the news, you think, oh, that's not going to really affect me. But, I started having more and more patients coming in. And at first, I really didn't know what to do. I just used common sense. I mean, I treated the symptoms. I used breathing treatments. I covered for secondary infection with antibiotics. I used steroids, that sort of thing, and I had success, but I didn't have a lot of people, showing up at my doorstep, treat me for COVID. But I did start having people wanting to get tested. And you might remember that LabCorp was the first lab in the country to offer the test, and they just got completely slammed. So it took 2 weeks to get the results back. I was already working with a lab for patients with chronic sinusitis who they were doing PCR testing for chronic sinusitis. So it tests for bacterial and fungal infections of the sinuses. It's called Microgen DX. And they came out with a saliva test for COVID. So, and we were able to get the results back the next day. So I started offering that, and my little clinic exploded and I'm located in a strip mall, which is very purposeful. I'm very close to the medical center, which is, to get your doctor's office, it's a 10-minute navigation of the parking garage, and another 10-minute walk to the office. And so I was trying to locate my office where it was very easy to get in and out of. And then that served me very well during the pandemic because with these saliva tests, you could just take the cup to somebody's car. They could spit in the cup. They could leave it outside. It was contact-free. You didn't have to have anything shoved up your nose. And then we got the results back the next day. And so that sort of put me on the map in my little neighborhood. And then I started tracking, when the vaccines came out, I started tracking who was positive, by their vaccination status. And so I started noticing that the vaccine wasn't working, and that's sort of what got me in trouble. I also started giving monoclonal antibodies, and I didn't ration them. So I became known in town as a place you could get monoclonal antibodies without, having to pass, being a certain race or a certain age or that sort of thing.
What do you think that was all about?
Yeah, I don't know. But the monoclonal antibodies is very frustrating to me. They worked very well. They were not controversial. People would turn around the next day. But when they first came out, I could get as many doses as I wanted. I mean, they show up at my doorstep the next day. And it was great. I mean, that also sort of put me on the map with COVID. And then I didn't even use ivermectin until the government took over distribution of monoclonal antibodies. And then it became harder and harder to get them. And that's when I turned to ivermectin. But, in my opinion, they did that on purpose. They did that to encourage people to take the COVID shot. It was very orchestrated. If you look at the timing, in March, the government put out the big information on ivermectin and why you should not take it for COVID. They put that on the FDA's website. At the same time, they launched COVID-19 Community Core, and this was April 1st, 2021. This was an $11.5 billion slush fund to propaganda, to feed out propaganda and censor people. And the day that they launched the COVID-19 Community Core was the same day that Houston Methodist, which is where I had privileges, they mandated the COVID shots for all their employees. And they were the first in the country. And that's sort of how I got tangled up in all this because I had privileges there. And then I was actually working with them. I was doing research with them. I was sharing my data with them to try to get it published. But then I started questioning, the vaccine and how it wasn't working. I brought it to their attention first, and they gaslit me. They just said, "Well, it lowers severity." And when they ignored me, then I started speaking out on social media, and that's what got me in trouble. But so that summer. 2021, that's when the third and the largest surge of the pandemic started. And this was after the rollout of the wonderful COVID shots, which were promised to stop transmission and prevent death, and obviously didn't. And the government was getting frustrated. So they doubled down on their ivermectin attack, and this was end of August 2021. They put out the infamous horse tweet. Said, "Seriously, y'all, you're not a horse, you're not a cow, stop it." A tweet went viral. It had dire consequences, in my opinion. And then they fully approved the COVID shot. And then Biden mandated for employers with 100 more employees. And that was right when they took you down. So It was all very coordinated. Oh, and then the final straw was taking away monoclonal antibodies. They said that, so.
Yeah, that was the more fascinating thing about it to me is I listed a bunch of different things that I took, including monoclonal antibodies, but they only concentrated on ivermectin. But the way they did it was like so transparent, like changing the color of my face on CNN and everywhere. This concerted effort to call it horse dewormer. It was they just try to make it look as preposterous as possible, without ever explaining that it's been used more than multiple billions of times prescribed to human beings.
Yeah, I mean, they branded you. When I think of you, I think of that picture of you where you're slightly green. And I honestly, yeah, but ivermectin, I was nervous about using it because of all the hype, and because monoclonals worked so well. I was like, well, this is not going to live. This is not going to work. I was nervous. But the first thing I did was dug into the safety, and anybody could do that, which is a minimal amount of effort. You can go to the FDA website and you can find the toxicity data on ivermectin. And there's something called the LD50, lethal dose 50, which is it's a benchmark number that gives you an idea of how toxic a medication is. And LD50 means how many what dose would kill 50% of lab animals. So for ivermectin, it kind of depends on the type of animal and the gender. But it's basically 10 milligrams per kilogram up to 80 milligrams per kilogram. So for COVID, we're using 0.4 milligrams per kilogram. So I knew that we were not worried about killing people with it. And then I did a literature search, and I looked for accidental, intentional overdoses for ivermectin, and I couldn't find a single study. Whereas you do that for Tylenol, I mean, thousands of reports. So once I knew it was safe, then I started using it, and then I found it worked. And then, all in all, I treated well over 6,000 patients. And everybody that got early treatment stayed out of the hospital. I also had patients come in that were really sick in the second week. And that was such a learning experience for me because normally if somebody walked into my office with an oxygen saturation in the low 80s, I would call an ambulance. But I had patients who were refusing to go to the hospital, and I had to give them the option to possibly die in my office, which is scary. But we saved them. I mean, we just threw the kitchen sink at them, and we didn't have monoclonal antibodies. So we brought them in every day. We did IV steroids. We did IV antibiotics. We gave them home oxygen. We gave them high dose of ivermectin. We did everything we could, and it was amazing. I mean, they survived. It was very gratifying.
So you think it was probably a combination of all the different medications and all the different treatments?
I would vary my approach depending on the severity, the comorbidities. I mean, it's an art, not a protocol is a guideline, right? But every patient is sort of individual. And so for the patients, the one patient I'm thinking of, I mean, he had history of 2 heart attacks. He had a history of throat cancer. He came in with an oxygen level. It was below 80. I can't remember exactly what it was. But I mean, so I just did everything. I took everything that I could and gave it to him, and it worked. And I had a few people like that. But if a 20-year-old came in, I'd probably just give him some ivermectin, and it just depends.
Why did you decide to try ivermectin even though there was all this negative propaganda?
Well, because I had patients coming to see me who needed help. I mean, I just wasn't going to shut my door. I'd already established I could help people with monoclonal antibodies. So I still had people coming to me seeking help, and I just didn't have the heart to say no. And I knew it was safe. So I knew that, it was a little bit iffy, but I knew it was safe, and there was good data showing it worked. It's just, one thing, you can find a study to support any argument you want in medicine. I learned that in residency. All residents learn that. We have something called Journal Club where you sit down once a week and you pour through different articles. And the takeaway is most articles are, crap. They're low power, or they're conflicts of interest, or they're designed poorly. So my mindset coming into the pandemic was, the research, the journals are a starting point, but it's not the final say is your own clinical experience and what you're seeing. And, we had never seen COVID before. This was a brand new entity. So we were learning on the fly, but, I've never treated this many patients with a single disease in my career. I'm sure I never will again. And so you quickly become an expert. And doctor, I can't speak for all doctors, but we like to do well. We like our patients to get better. It's gratifying. That's how you get job satisfaction, is seeing your patients do well. So why would I, continue to have, COVID patients come in if I couldn't help them? And it's astounding to me that the doctors in the hospitals just didn't pivot, didn't try new things. And I guess they were handcuffed by, the hospital administrators. But it just seems to me that, there was a doctor in Houston, Joe Verone, who I'm pretty good friends with, who is a critical care doctor, and he was one of the founders of FLCCC, which is they developed the original protocols for ivermectin. And Dr. Verone had much better success than most other doctors. His overall success rate was 4.4% of his patients died, whereas in other hospitals, averaged around 20%. And he threw the kitchen sink at people, and he basically followed this FLCCC hospital protocol.
So when the monoclonal antibodies were suppressed, what was the messaging? Like, what did they say to doctors?
They said that the strain of the virus was no longer covered, so that it had evolved and it wouldn't work. But
at the same time, they're using the exact same vaccine.
Exactly. And they had switched the monoclonal antibodies periodically. So it wasn't like they started with one and stuck with it the whole time. They switched it as things evolved. But
it was really clear. And the propaganda was shocking, because we've all seen propaganda with foreign conflicts, weapons of mass destruction, all that jazz. We've all seen propaganda. But when Rolling Stone magazine printed an article saying that the hospitals were overflowing with people overdosing on ivermectin, and gunshot victims couldn't get in, and then they used a stock photo, which was of a bunch of people wearing winter coats in I think the article was August in Oklahoma. The whole thing was so brazen and sloppy and obvious, especially in the age of Google. If this had all gone down in the 1980s, we would all be in the dark. We would have no idea. We would have been like, well, I guess the ivermectin's killing people. We wouldn't have known until 2030. People would have you have been a conspiracy theorist. You've been a crazy person, like one of those people that could tell you all the facts about the Kennedy assassination, with wild eyes. Oliver Stone, but it was so obvious, and it was so confusing, because I had people on my podcast before where I had doctors on, and I would talk about foolish people that don't believe in traditional medicine, like people that want to try different things, like people that were anti-vaccine or anti-anything. I'd be like, these are the best people at the front of the line. Trust them. 5 years later, I'm like, don't trust anybody. They're all compromised. It's all money, and that was the most disheartening thing. The propaganda was disheartening, but it was that the whole system is compromised. And then when I found out that pharmaceutical drug companies they're the ones that are funding studies, and that they could have a whole ton of studies. They don't have to divulge all the data from their studies. They only have to show you some studies that were carefully crafted to show efficacy. But all the other studies that they had that even showed negative effects, they could bury those. They weren't held responsible.
Exactly.
I was like, what is this? What is this? It's like everything in the world when money gets involved.
That Rolling Stone tweet is still up.
That's
I found it yesterday.
So
I couldn't believe it.
Wild. Look at that. Look at these people wearing winter coats. Yeah. So apparently this was a bunch of people that were waiting in line for the flu shot. Gunshot victims. All those people got shot. What the fuck is going on in Oklahoma? They're just shooting folks. They think it's the Wild West out there. Imagine if those were all gunshot. But look how crazy that article is, or that tweet is. Gunshot victims left waiting as horse dewormer overdoses overwhelm Oklahoma. By the way, 0 horse dewormers there. 0.
Well,
it was a total lie.
Well, and even last Friday, Vanity Fair did an article on Maha and Cali Means, and they quoted me in it. And in their description of me, they used horse dewormer. I could not believe it.
Still,
Catherine Ebon, The reporter for Vanity
Wow,
Fair. And she
what?
buddied up to me, acted like we were good friends.
That's how they always do it.
Yep.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes it can feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. And for guys especially, it can feel like you have to carry that burden on your own. There's a lot of stigma around men being the provider, to keep it all together by themselves. But that's not good for you, your family, or anyone. Did you know that 6 million men suffer from depression every year in the U.S.? And it often goes undiagnosed because of these stigmas. Real strength isn't bottling things up inside, though. It's admitting to your faults and doing something to better yourself. So go talk to someone, a friend, your partner, family, a therapist. Therapy is an excellent tool everyone should utilize. It's a great way to learn more positive coping skills, like how to manage stress, and help you live a more balanced and fulfilling life. BetterHelp is a great place to start that conversation. Judging by the millions of reviews and the 4.9 rating in the App Store, it's helped many people across the globe. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/JRE. That's betterhelp.com/JRE. They're all
I learned
dirty.
a valuable lesson.
It's so dirty. It's such a dirty business. God, I used to have massive respect for journalists.
No.
If I had never done this podcast, I'd be your regular schmo out there with, just spitting out all the company lines that all the blast all over the news. I kind of liked it better then.
It was a lot easier,
I didn't
right?
think that the
Ignorance
world-
is bliss.
I didn't think the world was filled with demons, money-hungry demons that are willing to sacrifice human lives in the pursuit of revenue. It's
Well,
crazy.
That's why we have to continue this fight, because people
Yeah.
have lost all trust with good reason.
With good
And
reason. That's why I'm having you on. That's why I continue to talk. People are like, stop with the COVID already. I get it, folks. If this is not for you, move on. Mary and I will still be bitching about this for the next 3 years.
Right.
Well, for me, it was such a wake-up call, because it's so weird to see your face on TV green, first of all. That was weird. And then this term, horse dewormer. I'm like, why you guys aren't concentrating on the fact that a 55-year-old man is fine 3 days later during the worst strain? It was during the Delta, where everybody's freaking out. This one's going to kill us all. And I was fine in 3 days. And I made this video. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to cancel the concert this weekend. I got COVID, but I'm good now. And then I didn't think that was going to be anything. I thought that
Right.
was just going to be the people that bought tickets to see Dave Chappelle and I in New Orleans. And that was was it Nashville? Wherever it was. That's all it was going to be. Those folks, they're going to be upset. I'm sorry. We'll make it up to you. Your tickets still count. That's all I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a normal tweet that I put out, or a normal Instagram post that I put out. And then all of a sudden, I hear that Neil Young wants me removed from Spotify. I was like, what the fuck is going on? This is crazy. Spotify got calls from 2 former presidents.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What about?
Oh, yeah.
Did they deplatform? Did you get
No.
censored or deplatformed?
No, I grew
in
by
any way?
2 million subscribers in a month.
Right,
I
right.
did. Because people started listening, because they made it sound like I was this maniac. And they started listening, like, oh, he's really reasonable and pretty humble about all this stuff, and just asking questions and bringing people on, like Dr. Robert Malone, who has 9 patents in the invention of mRNA vaccine technology. Like, he's he took it himself.
No.
He was reporting his insane adverse side effect where he almost died. He was telling about it, and they labeled him a kook for that.
What made you so awake, though?
Well, that.
Just Malone?
That. No, Malone, Peter McCullough. But I've always been the type of person that is like, if someone is saying something and they have rock solid connect. Dr. Peter McCullough is the most published physician in his field in human history. Like, this is a incredibly well-respected doctor up until he took a moral and ethical stand saying that this is not what they're saying, this is not what we should be doing, and then destroyed.
Yeah.
They tried to destroy his career.
He's had a horrible.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But the man has incredible courage, and he was labeled when I would tell people he's the most published physician in time, you'd see their eyes glaze over, like they didn't want to hear it. I'm like, maybe he's right. Well, 5 years later, we know he's right. We know he was right. He was right all along. I mean, the whole. So for me, when there's always a bunch of people that are ideologically or financially captured. And then there's people that feel morally obligated to tell the truth. And you can spot those people. And when I spotted a few of them, I'm like, okay, let me hear them out. I might be the guy that goes, no, this guy's a kook and he's going to cost people lives. Or I might be someone who go, hey, everybody, hit the brakes.
Right.
Like, you might be getting bamboozled here. And especially the real concern with any sort of a new drug is always the side effects. But when you have indemnity, when you have complete immunity for any financial liability, like the vaccine manufacturers do, and all you have to do is label it a vaccine.
Right.
Because that's not a traditional vaccine. It's just not. They changed the definition for mRNA vaccine technology. Before that, it was not that. It was a very different thing. We all had in our head, vaccines are good. That's why they don't get sued, because we need vaccines. You know, and then unfortunately, I read Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s book, The Real Anthony Fauci. I was like, oh my God.
What was your initial thought about the COVID shot? What was your mindset?
I was ready to take it.
Did you take it?
No, I didn't take it, but that's why they were so mad at me. I was ready to take it. The UFC had allocated shots for all the Johnson & Johnson for all their employees. And I showed up there on a Saturday, which was the day of the fights. And I said, can you give it to me? And they said, yeah, sure. Let's call the doctor. We'll set it up. I thought I was going to get a shot. I thought it was like a flu shot. Like, I'll get that shot and I'll go do the broadcast. I was going to do the broadcast. I didn't think anything of it. I was not worried about it at all. And they said, no, you have to come to the clinic and do it. Could you do that on Monday? And I said, I can't, but I'll be back in 2 weeks. During the time that I was trying to get it, and then in 2 weeks later when the next fights were, it got pulled from the market.
I mean,
because of blood clots. And then 2 people I knew had strokes. And I was like, hold the fuck up.
Yep.
And then I got real nervous because there was a lot of family members that were like really pushing it. You need to get vaccinated. Everyone should get vaccinated. Have you gotten vaccinated? Get vaccinated. We all need to do our part. We all need to get vaccinated. And, you know, then I became a heretic. Right? Then I was like, okay, I don't think I want to do it. And I had a bunch of friends that had horrible side effects, including one of them who is a young guy who is a pacemaker now.
Yeah.
His heart stopped beating for like 9 seconds at a time and he would black out. It was wild shit was happening. And I was like, I don't understand why this isn't on the news. I don't understand. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm the news. I'm like, I have to be the news.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the news. I like talking shit. I like having a bunch of comedians here. We have laughs. We get silly. You know, have a few drinks, watch some funny videos, crack each other, have fun. Or scientists. I like to have fascinating people in here. Tell me how the cosmos was formed. I don't want to be someone who distributes information to the masses that's been lied to. I don't have any lofty goals like that. Like I want to be the one who tells the truth. And that's not what I do.
No.
I'm just a curious person who talks to people.
Was it hard for you to get ivermectin?
No, I got it from India like that. I got boxes of it. I was handing it out to everybody. I think we still have some laying around here.
Most people don't have to go to India to get their medicine, though,
I know.
in the U.S.
Well, that was after my doctor had got it for me. My doctor got it for me. I think I fucked it up for everybody. I think me becoming the attack boy when they went after me, I don't think they would have attacked anybody that didn't have a large platform like that. And I don't think they would, I should say it better, I don't think they would have attacked ivermectin the way they did. I think they would have just suppressed it, and it wouldn't have been a public thing because it wouldn't have got out. But I think the problem was me saying that. The crazy thing is I said all that other stuff too. I said IV vitamins. I said Z-Pak, prednisone. I told them all the things my doctor put me on. And all they concentrated on was this ivermectin thing. I was like, this is wild. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then I was like, am I wrong about ivermectin? Like, and then I started just reading about the scientists and the team that invented it and how they won a Nobel Prize. I'm like, okay, what the hell is happening? Like, this is nuts. This is so weird.
Well, it was all part of the, getting the shot in every arm. And they had to go after ivermectin. I mean, they launched a war on ivermectin. Pierre Corey wrote a book about it.
Yes. I had Pierre on early on, too.
Yeah. And I actually sued the FDA over that horse tweet, and we won. It hasn't really changed anything, but So the FDA, when they put that information or misinformation out against ivermectin, they were really crossing a line because they're not allowed to tell the public you can't take a medication for this or you should take a medication for that. They're basically allowed to just approve medications and move on. I mean, they can issue a safety alert if there's something that comes up, but they're not allowed to really direct patients, and that's what they did. And so we did sue them, and we won, and they had to take down the horse tweet, and they had to take down the misinformation on their website. But unfortunately, as you know, evidenced by what just happened on Vanity Fair, I mean, the brand of it being only for animals still lives on. And, you know, it'd be great.
What happened at Vanity Fair?
So the reporter still used the term horse dewormer.
With the recent article,
right.
I mean. Yeah. Wild.
Right.
Wild. You're still being labeled a horse dewormer pusher in 2025.
Right.
When Chris Cuomo is out there talking about how he's taking it for long COVID.
Right. But it'd be great if the FDA could issue some sort of statement, you know, saying that it is safe, that it is used in humans. They don't have to say much more than that, but, you know, we could use a little help in rebranding ivermectin. And there are also a bunch of states that are trying to make it over the counter. I'm not sure if you've seen that. But
Yes, I have.
17 states have had bills in the last legislative session trying to get ivermectin over the counter. 3 have been successful, so Tennessee, Idaho, and Arkansas. 4 there is still in deliberations, and 10 they failed. But another thing the FDA, I believe, should do is make ivermectin over the counter, because people are basically going to the feed store. I mean, my own kid, he had some sort of scabies situation in West Texas over the weekend. He had to go to the feed store to get treatment. And I did a poll on Twitter. 52% of the respondents said they go to the feed store to get their ivermectin. I mean,
Is there any difference in the ivermectin from the feed store?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard of anybody having issues, but it's just unnecessary. This is America.
It's
we should be able
crazy.
to get the medication very easily.
And there is some sort of an efficacy for some sort of skin infections. Is that true?
Scabies is one of them.
Yeah. So,
And they
but you use it topically? Is that how it's used?
You can. I mean, for scabies, actually, you can take it orally.
Okay.
But yeah, so we shouldn't have to go to India. We shouldn't have to go to the feed store. We should be able to just go to. I mean, in
The
Mexico,
guy
you
from
can
India, he still emails me. Do you need any more, my friend?
I don't know. That kind of worries me because you just.
I just bought boxes. I was handing out boxes to people because so many people were telling me they couldn't get it.
Right.
And so I'm like, let me just get a lot of it while I still can.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's probably fine, but it's
People are
just
giving
unnecessary.
it to me. People are giving it to me at shows.
Oh, they were as gifts. I carry it around my purse. I'll
Do you
be
really?
rummaging for something. Oh, here's my ivermectin.
I know people that take it as a prophylactic all the time.
Oh yeah.
Which is so. It's just what a weird drug to go after that was on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people who had yellow fever and all the river blindness, all sorts of different parasitic infections.
It won a Nobel Prize.
And it showed that it stopped viral replication in vitro. They knew that.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I brought that up to Sanjay Gupta, it was like, but you know it does, right? And you can see the look on his face where it's like he couldn't talk about that.
No.
He had to skirt around it and just do his best to. But it was like, this is kind of crazy to make an off-label medication so taboo.
Yeah.
And then to stop monoclonal antibodies, just stop them. Well, you couldn't get
criminal.
him. My friend, one of his buddies was in the hospital, and because he was in the hospital, they wouldn't give him monoclonal antibodies.
Oh yeah, if you cross that threshold, you are not going to get monoclonal antibodies.
What is that about? Does that make any sense
Well,
to you?
they did it by the day. Apparently, there was some data showing if you gave it too late in the time course, it actually makes things worse.
How many people did they give it to that were too late? I mean, how do we know this?
It's a
seem
little
like-
suspicious.
It does seem suspicious because, like, why would if you've shown something to be very effective done early on, wouldn't you assume it would continue to be at least somewhat effective?
Right.
Now, if you're trying to stop someone who's on the brink of death, which
Right.
this gentleman might wind up dying, and they didn't get it to him, if you're just trying to stop, and you can't do it because you're in the hospital because you're admitted.
Yeah.
Like you should have like crazy data that shows like after 14 your feet fall off. 14 days of infection, your feet
Exactly.
fall off, you go blind if you take it.
Well,
Can't give it to you.
And my theory is they probably had a massive inflammatory response because we would see that people would get the monoclonal antibodies and they would just feel like complete hell that night. because there was like a little war going on in the body.
Right.
And then they would wake up the next day feeling great. I don't know if you had that experience, but
yeah, I pretty much did.
So, the second week of illness was the massive inflammatory response. So my thinking is the monoclonal antibodies may have just exacerbated that, but they could have counteracted that with high-dose steroids. And that was another thing. They gave these like piddly doses of steroids in the hospital.
And what steroids in particular?
Methylprednisolone or Solumedrol was what we typically used. If we were in,
Is that
it was in the
prednisone?
hospital.
What I took? Is that the same thing?
No, well, prednisone's an oral. They're different types, but like I usually do a Medrol dose pack rather than prednisone because it's been shown to help better with respiratory. It's not a huge deal, but in the hospitals, they could give Solumedrol and high doses of that. But they were giving very small doses of steroid, which is a problem.
Interesting. Well, that's also one of the things that they talked about in the RFK Jr. book, was that the studies that were saying that it was ineffective, the studies were not using the protocol that these doctors were using. And it seemed like these studies were designed to fail.
Exactly. And, like I said, you can find a study to support or go against anything you want, basically. So I just relied on my clinical experience. And I just had so many people saying, wow, it really made a big difference. And I saw people staying out of the hospital and it wasn't hurting anybody. So, but yeah, a lot of those studies were basically designed to fail. Either, the dose wasn't high enough or they gave it too late or it was heavily funded by somebody that doesn't want it to succeed.
Yeah, it's all very bizarre. Like really, it's really bizarre to live through. And for you as a person who was out of medicine and then said, jump back in 6 months before all this, like what is it like to have your worldview sort of like spun around like that?
Yeah. It's good and bad. Like, I feel sorry for the people that don't get it in a lot of ways. But I just never thought it would come to all this. I didn't go back to work to have a huge, huge career. I was just basically trying to stay busy and, active and
help people.
But I didn't envision this at all. It's been very impactful. I'll say that.
Yeah, what has it been like having to do this, having to do all these podcasts? And,
it's wild. It's not what I envisioned at all. But it's been, I feel vindicated finally. At least I'm not embarrassed to go to the school functions anymore or show up at the sporting events or. I used to be scared to go to the grocery store because they came after me so hard. And in Houston, Houston Methodist Hospital is sort of the country club, the elite of the hospitals. And so for them to come after me was a big deal. It's hard to get privileges there. Their tagline is leading medicine, and they were very proud of being the first hospital in the country to mandate the shots. They didn't need to go after me. I was nothing. I was, I saw a lot of COVID patients, but in the grand scheme of things, I really wasn't, I was not really doing anything.
It's the Streisand effect, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They attacked you, and by doing so, they made the whole thing way bigger than it needed to be.
But they did silence other doctors. I hear from doctors all the time that won't say anything because of what they did to me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of doctors that I know that were in danger of losing their license because they had prescribed ivermectin.
And that was another thing. The Federation of State Medical Boards, which is this private entity, they're actually located in Texas, who oversees all the state medical boards. They sent out a directive to all the state medical boards concerning ivermectin, concerning misinformation, and basically encouraging the medical boards to go after doctors like myself. And I'm still tangled up with the medical board trying to clear my name. But they did that. It all happened in that fall of 2021, right when Biden mandated the shots. They really came down hard on the doctors.
So what did they do specifically to you?
So I got several complaints, but only one of them is really stuck. The others I've cleared my name on, but they were all involving ivermectin. No patient harm. The one that has stuck is from a hospital in Dallas called Texas Hughley Hospital, and there was this man, a sheriff's deputy, father of 6, who's basically dying. They were talking hospice, and his wife wanted him to have the opportunity to try ivermectin. And he had tried to get it before getting in the hospital and couldn't find a doctor willing to prescribe it. So wife knew he was okay with it. And so she sued the hospital, and then she asked me to come on as sort of the expert. They had to have a doctor who was willing to prescribe it, because they can't force the doctors to prescribe a medication, but they could force the hospital to give a doctor privileges who was willing to prescribe it. So that's where I came in, and we won the case. And the hospital had a court order saying that they were going to give me emergency temporary privileges so that I could go into the hospital and give him ivermectin. Well, there was all this, stall tactics. They were supposed to give me the privileges the same day. And in other circumstances at that time, because of the pandemic, they were giving doctors same-day privileges. It wasn't this lengthy application process because there was a shortage of doctors. But for me, they made me submit my surgical case log for the last 3 years. They made me get 3 letters of recommendation. They made me fill out like a 30-page application. I got it all done in 24 hours. And then they're like, no, we're actually going to deny you privileges. So it turned out into this big battle. It became very confusing because they had to go back to the judge. And I finally got the green light, though. The lawyer's like, we can go. You've got the green light, the judge, we got the order. There's no stay on the order. I send a nurse to the hospital because this is in Dallas and I'm in Houston. Shows up with the court order, and the police greet her and turn her away. There's not a big scene. She leaves, but she's not allowed to give him ivermectin. It turns out they did get a stay, but our lawyers weren't aware of it at the time. But this is what they're going after me. They said that I sent a nurse to the hospital without privileges, and I caused a scene, and I harmed other patients by doing this. And it has been, it's 3.5 years. They can't find an expert witness to testify against me. There have been 3 continuances. They finally were awarded summary judgment against me. So they've decided I'm guilty. And now I'm waiting for my punishment. There was a hearing about a month ago to find out, what they're going to find me with and that sort of thing. And I'm just waiting on that. But I do plan on appealing. It's just gotten crazy.
Wow. So the first thing they attacked you with was what? What was the first one?
Yeah, for the medical board?
Yes.
I had one pharmacist turn me in because we sort of got in a pissing match on the phone. And
this is in 2021?
That might have been, I can't remember, but around that time. I had a father reach out to me, a 17-year-old, had a history of a kidney transplant, and they were going to Europe, and they wanted to have ivermectin just in case he got sick. And I was talking to the dad and the stepmother. I didn't realize I wasn't talking to the mother. So the mother found out I prescribed him ivermectin and turned me in. But ivermectin is metabolized by the liver, not the kidney. So it would be no harm for him to get, as having had a kidney transplant, for him to get ivermectin. And he never took the medicine. But it cost me $16,000 in legal fees to get that straightened out.
So this was your first experience, like, oh my God, like this is a real battle.
Yeah. I've never been in any trouble. I've never been sued.
Would it feel weird publicly yet? Like when you were saying you were having a hard time going to the grocery store, you're worried
that was when Methodists came after me. So Methodists,
they came after you very publicly.
Yeah, they tweeted about me. They went to I found out that my privileges were suspended from a text message from a reporter. That's how I found out. I looked at my phone. I was like, "What are you talking about?" I did. I said, "Check your sources. I don't know what you're talking about." And then I go to my email, and they suspended me. And then they tweeted about it, and it went. I had CNN, Washington Post going after me. It was traumatic. I was just a mom of 4 with a small practice, and all of a sudden I've got CNN calling me.
Wow.
So.
What was going through your mind while that was happening?
I spent the weekend in the fetal position and a lot of tears, and then I was pissed, and on Monday I hired a lawyer, and I hired a guy to help me with the press. And I held a press conference on Monday. I resigned, and then I sued them. So, and then I just have been working to try to clear my name.
Wow. But it's so hard to imagine for someone who's never experienced what you went through, what that must be like emotionally to just get thrown to the wolves in front of the world, like publicly, by people like CNN, like where it gets so weird because if that never happens to you, you look at CNN and you go, oh, they're the news. They're going to tell me the truth. I just automatically thought that. Or they're at least saying what they're allowed to say. Maybe the government holds back some information, but they're not going to lie. And then you see my own self on TV, and I'm sure, but I'm used to being like attacked for things.
I think the harder is CNN, whatever, but it's more just the locally, like going to the grocery store, going to the baseball game with your kids playing, and like hoping, sitting in a corner because you don't want anybody to see you.
Did anybody ever bother you?
No, honestly, no. But you just feel
Right.
very self-conscious. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
Even now, I still feel self-conscious, but it's a lot better. I mean, I had a Mother's Day event at school, and people actually came up and said nice things to me for once. So that was
That's
that was nice.
Well, a lot of people got red-pilled,
Yeah.
to use the Matrix expression, where they woke up to what's really going on during. I mean, it's kind of a masterful job of propaganda over the years that the pharmaceutical drug companies have done. I mean, because most people aren't even aware of how many drugs get pulled. They're not aware of the high percentage of them. What is it, in the 30s?
Well, yes, about 33%. They looked at it over 10 years. 33% had significant safety warnings on the drugs, and it took about 4 years for those to become recognized. I mean, they're drugs I used to prescribe that are no longer on the market. I mean, so yeah, like I said, it would have been any other drug would have definitely been pulled by now based on all the adverse events we've seen.
But it's just very profitable. And that's what people have to wake up to. There's a bunch of factors, right? There's the primary one, which is a bunch of scientists that are really trying to help people. And they're really trying to develop new ways to cure Parkinson's and all sorts of other problems and cancer. And these people are just constantly. And then there's the money people. The money people who take that thing and say, how do we give OxyContin to everybody? Mm-hmm. And then you have the Sackler family, right? You have evil. You have like actual evil. Maybe they don't have horns. Maybe they don't have a forked tail, but that's a demonic thing to do. You're infecting people with essentially something that turns them into a zombie, and it's killing people.
Especially
but you're
in
going to
health.
make a lot of money.
In health, too.
Yeah.
Especially in health.
Well, it's because you're so trusted. You're coming from a position of authority. It's a very different thing, especially in an area where most people are woefully ignorant. I mean, look how many doctors who are practicing doctors who are woefully ignorant about nutrition.
Right.
It's an enormous amount, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine the average person who has to go to a specialist about something, and they're being told, oh, you need Vioxx. Mm-hmm. This is this thing I'm going to give you, and it's going to cure your arthritis. Like, oh, great. And then you fucking stroke out.
Yep.
And the people who made that drug knew it was going to cause problems in people. They in the emails that were admitted during the hearings when they lost or during the court proceedings, they wound up paying a fraction of what they made. They made like $12 billion. They had to pay. I think they had to pay $5 billion, so they made $7 billion. It's costs and stuff. Stuff costs money. But Jesus, it's so hard. It's so hard to wake up to that. It's so hard to like go, oh, wait. So they're not looking out for us? They're not like trying to make us better? I always thought they were the people that were the most wonderful people in the world. They're the people that are providing the medication that's keeping everyone alive. This is why our life expectancy is 100 years old now, as opposed to just 20 years ago. Like, oh, great.
Life expectancy has gone down, actually.
Whoops.
Despite all the vaccines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And vaccines are even their own special class, right? It's the gospel. It's a religion. It's a gospel. I mean, it was never questioned in my training. Never.
I would have never questioned it. Not only that, I would not talk to anybody who did. I'd be like, get out of here.
Right.
I'm not having an anti-vaxxer on the show. Fuck off. But after reading Suzanne Humphrey's book, and I had her on recently, reading that book, it was like, what? Wait a minute. What? And then this can't be true. And then just look at the raw data of like when the vaccines were introduced and also when hygiene was introduced and sanitation was introduced and then massive drop off of the disease. And then at the very end, when it's almost gone, vaccines are introduced in almost every case. And yet we all are thinking like, thank God vaccines exist because otherwise we'd all have polio. Like, oh, Christ.
Yeah, it bothers me that I never questioned it.
Never would have. The polio one blew me away when you find out that that was the same time where they were using DDT everywhere. And the people that were getting polio first were people in rural farmland communities where they sprayed DDT everywhere. And it wasn't just affecting people, it was affecting horses. And it doesn't cross species. So it wasn't the same thing. Clearly something was going on. And everybody got locked into this polio scare. And to this day, I had a friend use that to me in a text message to me about like, look, we have to really appreciate that, he was like trying to make up for some stupid joke. And he was saying that look at Jonas Salk cured polio. I'm like, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to sit down and tell him there's a great book. It's called Dissolving Illusions. You should read it. And then you should read Turtles All the Way Down. It's another great book. And then you should listen to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s journey from being a very respected and trusted environmental attorney who was applauded by the left to being some nutcase pariah who I thought was a nutcase. I had to apologize to him when I had him on the show. I said, I have to tell you, when I first heard of you, and I thought you were a kook. You're this anti-vaccine kook. I was living in L.A., working in Hollywood. I bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. Everybody around me thought that way. So I thought this is what sensible, intelligent people think.
Yeah. But I don't think you can really convince people. I think they have to figure it out for themselves.
No, and they don't want to hear it. That's the thing. It's like telling someone that their spaghetti monster in the sky is not real. Like they don't want to hear it.
You just can't. Right. I've just given up. But but there's hope. I mean, you came around and you're not in the field, right? And people, I think, COVID directly impacted every single American, and not in a good way, right?
No, there's nothing good about it.
And
the only thing good about it was a shift in perspective.
Right.
And that it's going to be way harder to pull some shit off like this again.
Right.
People are not going to buy into it, especially all those vaccine-injured people who keep getting gaslit. Why do they keep calling it long COVID? How come nobody I know who wasn't vaccinated got long COVID?
Right.
What is this long COVID you speak of? Is there long flu? Where's the long pneumonia? What the fuck are you talking about? Why are you calling it? Is it possible that this is a vaccine injury? I'm just asking.
Well, yeah, I've been looking at antibody levels in these people, and it's alarming. So we really don't have a lot of tests for vaccine injured. It's hard because they'll get the $1 million workup. By the time they come to see me, they've gone through, multiple tests. They have multiple doctors.
It's not really $1 million, is it? The workup?
Well, I don't know, but I'm exaggerating. But
right. I just want to be clear.
I don't. It could be.
For some Vanity Fair came
exactly.
horse dewormer who claimed there was $1 million markup.
Somebody should fact check me on that. And it's probably higher than $1 million, but. So they get they go through the workup, and then they can't find a test to prove that they're injured. So the doctors will put them on psychiatric medication. They'll put them on sleeping pills and benzodiazepines and antidepressants. Literally, I saw a patient was put on all three. So the only test that I have found that does seem to correlate is this antibody test. It's a spike protein antibody test. LabCorp has it. That's where I send people. Quest has it, but they put the upper limit as too low, so you don't really get a good sense. But the upper limit of the test is 25,000. And people that have not gotten the COVID shots, I'd say it's usually under 1,000. And then people that have gotten the shots, a lot of them are off the chart. They're over 25,000. But on average, they're probably 10 times higher than the people that have not gotten the shot. And this is people who they were vaccinated 4 years ago. It wasn't like they just got the shot. Obviously, COVID's not an issue anymore in terms of, people getting sick. But 4 years later, you should not have sky-high antibody levels. And that's what I'm seeing. And that is alarming. It just suggests that there is a lot of spike protein still in the body causing problems.
And haven't they shown that the spike protein continues to be produced in the body up to 700 days later?
Yes. I mean, that's one study. There's some, what's interesting in that study, the antibody levels were really low, which doesn't make sense. So I kind of questioned the whole study, but yeah, I mean, I see it. I mean, I see patients. I mean, I still see vaccine-injured patients coming to me for the first time years later. Last week, I probably saw 6 new vaccine-injured patients. And they're not getting any help. The government, it's called the CICP. It's a countermeasures injury compensation program. They're supposed to help these patients. They have denied 98% of people that have applied for assistance. They, on average, I think they've awarded 30 people, 30 of all the vaccine injured that have applied, 30 people. On average, the award is like $4,000 for these people. It's horrible. I mean, these people's lives are just destroyed. These are not easy things to treat. It's not like I can give them an antibiotic and they're good to go and they're fine. I mean, they're very challenging. We don't have a lot of guidance. I do see a lot of success with ivermectin, but it's slow going. It's usually months of trying to help them. And the government really needs to help these people because there's a lot of people suffering. And they're getting completely ignored. The other issue is we don't even have a code. So every disease has a numerical code, and it's called an ICD-10 code. It's what they use to compensate people for, or the insurance companies use them, but also for tracking. So if you have, COVID has its own little code, and you can just dial on the code and get all the numbers. They don't have a code for vaccine injury. They have a code for vaccine hesitancy, but they don't have a code for injury. So all these people are just sort of, they're getting all these diagnoses, but there's no way to track them. It's a big problem.
How convenient.
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine the real problem with paying people is you'd have to pay so many. But that's...
We can just print the money. I don't know what the problem is.
I mean, what do you give them? What if you find out you have myocarditis and your life expectancy is greatly reduced, and we know for a fact it came out of this vaccine? What do you give a person like that? You're going to take
their life's wages, what wages that they would have potentially earned.
What if it's Katy Perry?
Well, so be it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to give her $2 billion.
I don't care.
Like, what do you do?
The vaccine companies can pay that money.
I know, but it's insane. The number of people that I personally know. What's very shocking to me is when I talk to people that are pro-vaccine, still pro-vaccine, and when I be very specific, mRNA vaccine, still pro-COVID vaccine, that will tell me they don't know anybody who was injured by it.
Yeah.
I was like, how is that possible?
How many people do you know?
I know a lot.
Yeah.
I know 2 people on pacemakers.
Yeah.
2. And they're young people.
Everybody knows somebody.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that got fucked up, including family members. I know a lot of people that got fucked up. And people that don't want to admit they got fucked up, all of a sudden they have this new cancer that's spreading, like, rapidly.
Yep.
It's terrifying. It's like... I watched the Danny Jones podcast, and you guys were trying to get... Callie Means to talk about SV40, right?
Well, my thing with Callie, I actually talked to him last night. Just why he will not go on record to state the COVID shot should be pulled off the market, and that's the whole. He's the head of.
Do you think that's being political? That's trying to appease too many people? What do you think that is?
I can't read their minds, but I think I think anybody with a big microphone, who is in a position of power, and who knows the truth is ethically obligated to speak the truth. That's how I see it. I mean, I'm not a politician. I keep hearing the word strategy, but there are people I'm just faced with the carnage every day in my office. It's just, I can't ignore it. And I don't understand why this is so difficult other than, political, but it shouldn't be political.
It shouldn't be. Right. That's what's disappointing, because we thought that this administration come in and it was just going to kick down doors.
Right.
Like, this is it. Epstein list, day one. Who killed JFK? Let's find out. What are all these fucking UFOs?
That wasn't on my priority list, but yeah.
I'm a dummy. That was my number one. If I had out of those 3, give me that one. Tell me the aliens are real. But this political dance, this excuse for that. So I really appreciated Jack Kruse kind of pestering him on that. And then I've talked to Brett Weinstein about that as well. And he gave a breakdown of how it actually happened and when the original kidney cells from these monkeys were being used to make vaccines, that they inadvertently gave these people this simian virus 40, which when it gets into the human body can lead to rapid cancer.
Right. Well, yeah, that's one of the cancer-causing issues with these shots. That's not the only one, though. I mean, it goes into the cell. It's supposed to not get into the nucleus, but it could get in the nucleus. We know that it can get into the nucleus. And then if it gets in the nucleus,
well, at first they thought it was going to
over.
stay local.
Right. It's only going to stay in the arm, right?
It's going to stay right where your arm is. Your body will react to it. It'll produce the antibodies, and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
And then all these silly people, you can watch them die in the streets and laugh as you step over them. Ha, ha, ha. I was smart.
Right.
I trusted the science.
Yeah.
So they know that that's not true. It doesn't stay local. They know it doesn't dissipate within, it was a small amount of time that it was supposed to stay inside your body. They know that's not true.
Right. So, yeah, they replaced one of the nucleotides with something that's hard to break down, pseudouridine. They've never shown that pseudouridine is cleared from the body. There's no study showing that we can clear it. So that could be why these people have these sky-high antibody levels 4 years later. Because the body might not be able to break it down.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That's terrifying. What could you conceive of that would help something like that? Like, what could you do that would aid the body in being able to do something like that? Is there anything theorized?
I don't know. I wish, Robert Malone would be a good person to ask, maybe. Maybe
he should
something
come back
like,
on and do a victory lap anyway. That guy was torn apart.
Yeah.
They were trying so hard to make him out to seem to be a kook. And every interview he would do, he would be so reasonable, so logical, so fact-based, and so knowledgeable. And he was a kook. He was a kook. I remember some fucking guy yelled at me in Vegas. He said something about me spreading disinformation. Then he said something about that idiot Malone. I'm like, that guy.
The inventor of mRNA.
Or one of them,
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it's not like none of those things ever happen in a vacuum. I'm sure there's a ton of people working on that. But he was one of them.
Right.
He's a fucking brilliant guy. So how did they find out that it can get into the nucleus?
Well, if you look at lipid nanoparticles, and that's sort of otherwise, if you just put mRNA into the body without the lipid nanoparticle, it would get destroyed. So they put it in the shell, the lipid nanoparticle, and there are studies showing lipid nanoparticles can cross the nuclear membrane. So there's that. Kevin McKernan is a scientist. He's on X a lot. He's done a lot of work in that, showing DNA contamination that's getting into these shots, in addition to the SV40. And
DNA contamination.
Right. So there's, and this was what Joe Ladapo, the Surgeon General of Florida, he has actually called for the COVID shots to be pulled off the market, and his main argument was there is a certain amount of DNA that is allowed in any kind of these products, and we have proof that they have exceeded that threshold. So there have been studies showing that there's excess DNA in these samples, which shouldn't be there. And that's just sort of this hard line that shouldn't be crossed.
Where's this DNA coming from?
In the production process, I guess. But it's pretty cut and dry. I think that's why Dr. Ladapo has chosen this argument to go by, because there's just like a hard line that you don't cross, and they have crossed that.
And what happens if you get too much DNA?
Well, you can integrate. The concern is, does it integrate into your cell DNA?
Are we going to make
mess things up?
Monkey people? I mean,
No,
you
cancer,
imagine?
but cancer, that's...
Right. You imagine if we made like hybrid people, they turned out to look like Neanderthals, like we injected them with something that twisted their genes back. But just the idea of manipulating your DNA is so terrifying. It's like, what?
In pregnant women, right?
Right. Integrating.
It'd be one thing if it's a 70-year-old man, but a pregnant woman.
Yeah, you hear that term?
Got these...
Integrate DNA. You don't think good things. That's like immediately I'm like, what?
Right. And these things are technically gene therapy products. They're not vaccines. So,
which is a real problem with using the same term. Why not use a new term? Well, because then you wouldn't be under the umbrella of protection that vaccines currently enjoy, where they can't be, which is so crazy. It's so crazy. It's just hard to believe it's true. It really is.
it is.
And so for a person like you that just like you were saying, see the carnage every day, tell me what it's been like. Like, what is it like?
It's hard because as an ENT, I'm used to fixing people quickly. So, you know, I get somebody with a sinus infection, get them an antibiotic, they're good to go. I got somebody with an abscess, I drain the abscess, they're good to go. It's sort of why I chose my specialty, because I like to see the results quickly. I didn't go into primary care for a reason. And so when I see the injured, it's like, you know, it's very slow going. We don't have a lot of research. It's trial and error. These people are young, were previously young and healthy, and their lives have just been completely destroyed. I don't have a big support system of other specialists I can send them to. It's hard. I mean, I don't feel sorry for myself, but I'm just saying it's just very different from what I'm used to as a doctor. So I really hope that the government will step up and do something about this.
Yeah, that would be a nice thing, to hope to do something about it. But it would be really nice if some real research was done on what are the actual long-term effects. If everyone's looking at it from a position of we can't get, you know, sued for this is dangerous, like someone has to look at it and say, well, these are the definite effects of this vaccine, because it's too much. This is long COVID. It's too much. Oh, he got a neurological condition that was going to happen anyway. It just coincidentally happened after he took the COVID shot. Like, there's got to be some way to determine what of these ailments, like specifically, like when you're talking about that abnormal antibody levels, like.
Well, there are patterns. I mean, I definitely see the same sort of things over and over again. So it's not like, you know.
But as you said, it doesn't have a classification.
Right. It doesn't have a code. So we need an ICD-10 code for these.
That seems kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well.
Imagine if that was the case with like herpes. Everybody would be like, hey,
yeah.
Put a damn code in there so we know what this is.
Right. But there, you know, I see very similar constellation of symptoms. I see patients with these abnormal tremors, which, you know, they can't stop shaking even when they're sleeping. They feel internal vibrations.
Oh, Jesus.
Or they'll have severe pain that you can't explain. You know, you get an MRI. There's no nerve damage that you can tell. I've seen some very strange rashes, and normally, you know, it doesn't matter what kind of rash it is. You throw a few meds at it and it will disappear. But actually, the only thing that I've found helpful is ivermectin for these strange rashes. And you see POTS where the blood pressure, that's the hardest, I think. And this is we're seeing a lot of this, where the blood pressure just drops suddenly with no stimulation, or the heart races with no provocation. That is very common and very difficult to treat.
That's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
He says every now and then his heart will just jack up to like 180.
Yep.
And he has to sit down. And he just has to hope that this isn't the last time he breathes.
Yeah.
He just sits there. He has a heart monitor. He puts it like one of them wristwatch ones, the Garmin one. He just watches his heart jack up to like 180 beats per minute, just sitting there for no reason, not knowing if you're going to die.
Right.
Another friend of mine who was really young was a soccer player. Super healthy guy, super fit. Gets the vaccine, all of a sudden, giant heart racing in the middle of the night, like out of control, like, you know, like you're running a 7-minute mile, just jacked.
Yeah, yeah.
And he wound up in the hospital twice. Nothing they could do. It all went away. It stopped. It went back to normal after a while. But now he's got this like terrible fear that he's got a fucking time bomb in his chest.
Yeah.
That out of nowhere his heart would just ramp up. And you could say like, oh, it's probably a genetic thing. He probably had it already. It's like, maybe. But this guy was super fit.
Yeah.
Super fit soccer player.
And that's the athletes, the sudden death in athletes. So it used to be 29 per year. Now it's 290 per year. Growth 10 times.
It's crazy.
Dropping dead.
The rarest of rare people to drop dead in the middle of nowhere. The best athletes in the world. The people who are the healthiest in the prime of their life.
Right. And I worry about these kids because, you know, myocarditis, the primary symptom is chest pain. But if you've got a kid who's not even speaking yet, you have no idea if they have myocarditis. And myocarditis can leave a permanent scar on the heart and then lead to a lifelong increased risk of sudden cardiac death. And we have no idea if these kids have been affected.
Yeah, and how many kids did we see drop dead of heart attacks in like high school football this year?
Right.
Like over the last 4 years, rather. It was like you'd see these articles pop up all the time. You never saw those articles. Or if you did, it was super rare, and it's some kid with a heart condition that was never diagnosed, which does happen.
Yeah, and the schools are now making kids get cleared by a doctor before doing sports, which I don't remember that when we were kids.
Wow. Yeah, they just threw us right onto the wrestling team. They didn't check shit. Right. They didn't even see if you had a cold.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's better. It's probably better to screen them. You know, they'll find those undiagnosed conditions that kids can have.
Well, I think it's in response to what's happened.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
it
know
certainly
that
is.
Yeah.
But I mean, that might be the good aspect of it.
Right.
Maybe some people will get diagnosed that didn't have any idea that they were running around with a problem, and they can fix it.
But it's hard to diagnose. Like, really, the only way you can diagnose myocarditis for sure is to do either a biopsy or a cardiac MRI, which is, most kids are not going to be put through that.
Right.
So
Jesus.
it's scary.
And what's crazy is this is all true, and yet us talking about it makes us both look like kooks. Like, we then will be labeled, for sure, someone will go out and attack us now and label us anti-vax, anti-science, kooks, and this is what's dangerous about this conversation. This is what's dangerous about what they said. And, those people work for the devil.
Well, do you think you'll get censored on YouTube, this interview?
No.
You don't?
No.
Because I was just on Jimmy Dore.
Yeah,
and they
got
had
censored?
to bleep out, like, a full sentence of mine.
I'm not
on
bleeping
YouTube.
out shit. I'm not bleeping out shit.
You think it'll be okay?
We'll find out. I think it's wrong if it's not okay. If it's not okay, I think YouTube is more reasonable now than they were during the pandemic. And I think they have a very difficult job managing content at scale where you're dealing with, the amount of people uploading things is insanity. And they have certain things that they've tagged as being controversial because they were anti-science or misinformation that it's still, there's like lingering ones. What was the issue that we had, Jamie? We had like an old episode where there was something in the old episode that would have violated their rules back then. It doesn't violate them now. But because the episode was uploaded back then, what happened with that?
It had like a weird, at the time, the penalty was like you had to do something, and so like they couldn't take that step away. That was kind of the issue.
But the bottom line was everything this person said was true.
Mm-hmm.
And proven to be true now. And now it's 100% fact. So now you can say whatever you want. Like now if you say, hey, it's super likely that virus leaked from a lab in China. And now you can say that.
Right.
Like back then, you would get attacked.
Well,
it would be crazy. You'd be called a racist. You'd be called the worst things possible if you just said, like the wonderful Jon Stewart bit that he did on Colbert Show. Did you ever see that bit?
I can't remember.
You want to see it?
Refresh my memory. Oh, yeah.
Let's watch it because it's really hilarious. This is like in the heart of the pandemic, and Stephen Colbert was like vaccine or death. He was all in on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Colbert was like trying to like halt him in the middle. He's doing a bit. Jon Stewart's doing a bit. He's doing a funny bit. And Colbert tries to like cock block it. He tries to like trip him. But Jon Stewart powers through like the comic that he is. You find it? Yeah. Don't tell me it was taken down.
No, there's just two versions of it. One's 9 minutes, one's 4-minute one.
All right, give us this one. All right, this is it.
I honestly mean this. I think we owe a great debt of gratitude to science. Science has, in many ways, helped ease the suffering of this pandemic, which was more than likely caused by science. And that's kind of.
Hold on, what's that?
No. Listen.
It's coffee. I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that to you. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like there was a chance that this was created in a lab? There's an investigation.
A chance?
Well,
oh my
if there was
God.
evidence, I'd love to hear it.
There's a novel respiratory coronavirus overtaking Wuhan, China. What do we do? Oh, you know who we could ask? The Wuhan Novel Respiratory Coronavirus Lab. The disease is the same name as the lab. That's just a little too weird, don't you think? And then they ask the scientists, they're like, how did this... So wait a minute, you work at the Wuhan Respiratory Coronavirus Lab. How did this happen? And they're like, a pangolin kissed a turtle. And you're like, no, the name of your lab. If you look at the name, let me see your business card. Show me your business card. Oh, I work at the coronavirus lab in Wuhan. Oh, because there's a coronavirus loose in Wuhan. How did that happen? Maybe a bat flew into the cloaca of a turkey and then it sneezed into my chili and now we all have coronavirus. Like, come on.
Wait a second.
What about this? What about this? Listen to this.
Wait a second.
All right.
John.
Oh my God. There's been an outbreak of chocolatey goodness near Hershey, Pennsylvania. What do you think happened? Like, oh, I don't know. Maybe a steam shovel mated with a cocoa bean. Or it's the chocolate factory. Maybe that's it.
That could be.
Colbert kept trying to get in the way.
That could
By
be.
the way, I gave them all tuberculosis.
That could very well be, and Anthony Fauci and Francis Collins and NIH have said, like, it should definitely be investigated.
Don't stop with the logic and people and things. The name of the disease.
Wait a second.
The building.
Wait a second. But it could be possible, you could be right, it could be possible that they have the lab in Wuhan to study the novel coronavirus diseases because in Wuhan, there are a lot of novel coronavirus diseases because of the bat population there.
I understand.
It's like the saying,
it's
like,
a
wait
local
a second.
specialty, and it's the only place to find bats. You won't find bats
No, but
anywhere
it's like
else.
saying, why?
Wait, Austin, Texas has thousands of them that fly out of a cave every night. Every night at dusk. Is there a coronavirus, an Austin coronavirus? No, it doesn't seem to be an Austin coronavirus. The only coronavirus we have is in Wuhan,
Yes.
where they have a lab called, what's the lab called again, Stephen?
The Wuhan Novel Coronavirus Lab.
I believe that's the case.
And
Now,
how long have you worked for Senator Ron Johnson?
Let me tell you something. About Ron Johnson. This is not a conspiracy. Here's the thing about science.
You could be right. You could be right.
But this is the problem with science. Science is incredible.
This
but
is
they
it.
don't know when to stop.
Okay.
And nobody in the room with those cats.
He's going to do the other thing that we already saw.
Yeah.
The other thing we talked about, the Spanish flu, which a lot of people never heard that before either. They did what? Isn't that great? That's one of the best segments ever on late night television, ever in the history.
Emperor wears no clothes, and Colbert thinks the emperor still has a fancy robe on.
Well, this is the job of comedians in society at certain times. And Jon Stewart, he held the torch.
I didn't realize he was enlightened.
Well, he's a very smart guy. He's not a bullshitter. You know, he's a very smart guy. I don't agree with him on everything, but
Has he come around on the shot?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to him. He lives in another state. But I love the guy. He's great. And he
was my
he's a very
favorite
funny
comedian,
comic.
like when I was younger.
He's a great comic,
yeah.
very funny guy, and a very nice guy, and very fair and honest. You know, he's like the type of person who can do that on television in the middle of the shit, which is what it was. This was like right around the same time where the government where they made that. Remember that release that they had? They said for the vaccinated, you've done your job, but for the unvaccinated, you're looking forward to a winter of illness and death. Severe illness and death. Yeah. Severe.
It's crazy.
Severe illness and death. And this was during Omicron, which statistically was a cold.
Right.
That was the one that was like had the least mortality.
Yeah.
So for him to do that during that time was very courageous. Like he had to know, but he just had to make it really funny, which he did.
Yeah.
It's so preposterous because it's so on the nose. You almost think like if that was in a movie, like that would be too, like it was a Coen Brothers movie or something. Like, oh my God, this movie's ridiculous. Like, there's no way it would be named the same as the lab.
Did he get smeared for it?
I don't think he did. No, John skirted out of that. He had a show with Apple for a while, and it was really good. But then I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I do all the time, so I might as well. I think there was an issue with an episode they did on China. Is that the case? Let's see if there's like data on that or if there's a story on that. But they stopped doing that show. So he had like a Apple show. You know, because Apple TV produces a lot of shows now. They have Severance. You ever watch Severance?
No, I'm watching Righteous Gemstones now.
Oh my God, that's a good show.
Oh
my God,
love
that is such a funny show. I didn't even hear about it until like this year. There's almost too many great shows.
I know, it's hard to keep up.
That show is fantastic. That show is so funny.
I think it's modeled after Joel Osteen.
Is it really?
That's my theory. And I pass by his church every day, so.
Yeah, there's something about those guys that run the mega churches. Like, you gotta be crazy. Like, not one of them is like, oh, that guy makes sense.
Right,
That guy seems like
characters are just
super
amazing.
reasonable,
Right.
normal human being. That's like, I like that guy. I want him as my pastor. No, it's always like some complete kook. In October, the New York Times reported that Apple canceled the comedy show ahead of its third season due to creative differences and execs' concerns over Stewart's coverage of topics such as China and AI. Okay. The China, I get it. Apple has contracts with China, right? They have cell phones made in China, and they actually have to. Did a story about that the other day. Read a story the other day about how the iPhone 17 is so complex that it actually has to be manufactured in China because they have the best manufacturing. So they must have some sort of a thing where you can't criticize. You're going to fuck it all up for us. You're going to fuck it all up for the production of our phones that we need till we make all this money, which is why we have more money than most countries.
Well, I don't see how Jon Stewart would be a threat to their revenue.
I just don't think they want him criticizing, China. But the AI one is even more weird. The AI one is even more weird because it's like, don't you think we should make fun of AI? Don't you think there should be like something that scares the shit out of people enough till they wake up and recognize that this thing is coming at us like a freight train. There's no guardrails. No one knows what's going to happen. And everybody's like, full steam ahead. Toot, toot.
AI terrifies me.
It should.
It does.
Well, it's because you're intelligent. I think most intelligent people are aware that this will be a change that is akin to the asteroid that hit the Yucatan. This is gonna hit in some crazy way that redefines what it means to be a human being. And it's around the corner.
Well, yeah, and Texas, they love AI. They're put a huge amount of money into AI.
Oh, fun.
Texas.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Choo choo.
I know you love Texas, but
I do love it here.
It is
Yeah,
not. It
there's-
is not what you think.
No,
I need
there's
to,
a lot of
I need
things.
to wake you up on Texas.
Well, I like the fact that it was free during the time where California was not. You could do whatever you wanted to. Relatively, right. But in my business and for what I do, like the stand-up comedy and letting people tell you what you can and can't do, I don't like that.
Right.
And here they've had a more rebellious spirit in that regard.
So I think healthcare, though, is turning Texas blue.
Yeah.
We have, Houston is home to the largest medical center in the world, and it brings in people from all over. And I think mandates started in Texas for a reason. I think they did it here to test the waters. They knew if they could get away with it in Texas, they could get away with it anywhere.
Oh, don't make me move to Florida.
No, I don't even think. I know.
make
I think
me-
Idaho. Florida's not any good either.
Idaho's
actually.
cold as fuck. Jamie can't live. Look at him over there. He can't survive. He got out of Ohio and he developed thin blood.
But yeah, Texas, I think it's Texas Medical Association, largest medical association in the country. They are really proponents of transgender surgery in minors. They are anti-free speech for physicians. They are pro-mandate. They've gone after me. And they have a tight control over the people in our house and state. So I just think we need to be careful. I mean, you saw it during the pandemic, and the economy of our state is dominated by health, and people don't realize that. They just think oil. But health is a huge dominating factor in our economy. And, you saw what they did to me, what they're still doing to me. You see the mandates. And I don't know if you've been following what's going on in the House, but our House is divided. So we've got the real true freedom-loving representatives, and then we have these pseudo-Republicans who do control everything, but they are basically Democrats in disguise. And I don't know, it really worries me. Idaho just passed a bill, the best medical freedom bill in the country. It eliminates all medical mandates, except for hospitals, of course, but it's the first one of its kind where medical mandates are finally outlawed. Because, I mean, you think about it, all these vaccines that we have to give our kids to go to school is actually fundamentally wrong. We should not mandate any child to get a shot to go to school. And in Europe, half the countries don't have those kind of mandates. But the United States is very common. All kids have to get these shots to go to school. And if you opt out, it's a big deal. And some states don't even allow exemptions. So I think it's a wake-up call. Like I never thought about the fact that I had to give my kids these shots to go to school as being an issue. But now that COVID happened, I see it as a huge issue. But Florida, Florida's been kind of behind it too. Like, they're not one of the states trying to get ivermectin over the counter. There were 9 states that tried to pass bills banning mRNA. They all failed, but Florida wasn't one of those. So Florida worries me too.
Idaho.
They have good skiing there. It's beautiful.
I don't ski. Oh. I quit skiing a few years back. My last accident. I'm like, I'm done.
Skiing. I love skiing.
Oh, it's fun. Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. Didn't get hurt. Don't get hurt. That's how I feel every time I ski. But I've had a bunch of surgeries. That's the problem. Like I know the vulnerability of knees.
Yeah.
I've had 3 knee surgeries.
Yeah.
It's like it's rough on you, But it's fun. It's just for me, like the juice isn't worth the squeeze. There's a bunch of other stuff that's a lot more fun that doesn't come with risk of broken bones and concussions.
Yeah. I don't know. I like roller coasters for fun. But other than that, I can't.
You're one of those.
I'm not full on, but I don't know. Have you the new roller coasters? Have you been on them recently?
Oh, yeah. I have kids.
Yeah. They're much better. I mean, it's not what the ones we grew up with.
No, some of the ones, like at Disneyland has some insane ones. The Incredibles ride, if you've ever done that one. Whoa.
I like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's great.
I love
that one's fun. That one's really fun. Yeah. Disney. You know what's the best ride? It's in Disney World. It's an Avatar 3 virtual reality ride. It's incredible.
Is that Florida or California?
Florida.
Oh, yeah, I think I did that.
I think it's called Flights of Fantasy or something like that. It's incredible. Like you are one of the Avatar people, and you fly around on a dragon. And it's so good. It's so good. It just, like, you feel the breeze. You feel mist in the air. At a certain point, I'm realizing while I'm doing this, I'm like, this wasn't even remotely possible just 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what is it going to look like 20 years from now? Like, I'm not going to have any idea. They're going to put a helmet on me. It's going to, like, sync up with my brain. Ready, brain sync. And all of a sudden, you're going to be in that world. You're like, whoa. And we're going to trust those people to let us out. That's 100% coming.
Yeah, I'm happy with the roller coaster. I'll stick with that.
It's not worth it. It's not as good. You take the brain thing, get in the Avatar world.
I get sick on those rides. The ones where the 3D, I get kind of nauseated.
Well, this one moves too. This one you're on like a motorcycle, like a fake motorcycle, and that's to represent the dragon. You know, and you have like a handle you hold on to, and it starts moving you around. Shit. So like as you're flying, it's like it's a full sensory experience. It's
I think
really
I did.
Good.
I did that, and my kids made fun of me because I was screaming on it. Like
you
I was
did that one
scared.
at Disney World?
Yeah, a couple of years ago. Yeah, I haven't done it since.
It's so good. Such a good ride. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. And when you connect that to AI, so it tailors something that's specific for your whatever crazy fantasy you want to do. We already have video games where people can murder people. Like that's like the most popular video game is Grand Theft Auto. And one of the
Right.
things that people love about it is you could just beat some mechanics to death for no reason.
Do you think that allows people to get out their frustrations, though, in a healthier way?
Perhaps. I would recommend martial arts. I think that would be a healthier way. But I think more than anything, what it does is allows you to disassociate and just to be able to, because it doesn't mean anything. It's not really a person that's getting beat to death. But the imagery is obviously of a person that's getting beat to death. And you're able to do it with no consequences, no recourse,
Right.
no bad karma. You don't even feel bad because it's a part of the game.
Yeah.
You know, what was that one where you could drag the Wild West one where you could beat people with whips? Red Dawn Redemption, is that
Red Dead
it?
Redemption. But
Red Dead Redemption. Crazy games where you could do horrible things to people. Like, what is it going to be like when you have video games that are actually virtual reality, completely immersive, and you could just be a serial killer? You could be Jack the Ripper.
Right.
They give you a knife, and now you're in London in the 1800s, and you're Jack the Ripper.
Why do people create these?
Because they can, right? It's like what John Stewart said about the nuclear bomb. Like, why they do that? Well, and this is the same thing. This is the parallel to the Manhattan Project, because we're not the only ones that are trying to find get to the solution of what is like the ultimate expression of AI in its current form, like super intelligent, sentient, artificial intelligence, like something that's going to be godlike power and ability. China's working on it too. We have to work on it. If we don't work, like, so everyone's like, hang on. And we're like, nope, just China's working on it. We have to do it. We have to get there first. So it's just like the Manhattan Project. And I don't think it's going to matter. I think once we get there, it's going to be so weird for everybody. I think civilization is going to be an upheaval. And I think we're entirely attached to the idea that this civilization that we live under, where our money is all in hard drives and it's all ones and zeros on a database somewhere, not even backed up by gold anymore. It's all super weird already. Like, this is standard forever. I don't think it is.
I don't know. I feel like there
we're
may
in
be a
trouble.
backlash because there's this wanting to do real things and do real experiences. I mean,
there'll be a few
personally, if I'm on-
hikers. There'll be a few hikers. A few people.
I mean, when you're on your computer all day, the first thing I want to do is just get outside and get away from all of that. And so my hope is that there'll be a backlash.
Well, there'll be a few, right? There's just like there's people that are still pro-vaccine today, right? They're still pro-mRNA vaccine. I can't wait for the new booster. There's people that are out there like that, right? You're always going to have different kinds of people. You're never going to have one thing where everybody adopts it. There's going to be a bunch of people that want to live a subsistence lifestyle in the woods forever. Let all those morons in New York put their helmets on and live in fucking Avatar land. I'm going to live out here in the real world. But if you think about how many people play games today versus how many people played games 30 years ago, it's off the charts, right? Like, what are the numbers? Like, when I was a child is when they had Pong. That was the first one.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember those?
Yeah, it was in the Sears store. Do you remember that? You go
do
shopping for
remember
jeans
Sears.
and you
Yes,
would
yep.
play the game.
That's where you buy your tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tough skins.
Yeah, and that was revolutionary. You could play a game on television, and
Yeah.
it was a really simple game, doot, 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 and you'd be playing ping pong with this like slow-moving ping pong ball, and it was fun, and we all loved it. Family would gather around, play ping pong, and then you fast forward to Call of Duty. Like, that's insane. Like, that is insane. These kids they have microphones on, they're talking, they're running through Fallujah, gunning people down. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. And
So
my,
the
my
numbers.
kids went through that phase, but they seem now to be sort of disinterested. Like
Well,
they kind of.
You did a good job.
Well,
You
I
raised
didn't
good
do
kids.
anything. It just happened.
Oh, I think a lot of kids are disinterested because they realize that the beck and call of life and becoming a success is you cannot get too wrapped up in these things
Right.
because they will steal your time. But my point is that like the amount of people that are allowing it to steal their time today, and I know you're enjoying it. Steal your time's a bad. Like, have fun, play your games. I love them. They're fun, but I can't do them. There's too much. See, they're too exciting. They're too good. But these are just the beginning. What we're experiencing now with Call of Duty and first-person shooters that everybody loves, in comparison to what's going to happen when they put that thing on your head, and then all of a sudden you really are on Battleship Troopers. What was that movie where they fought the aliens? Starship Troopers. Did you ever see that one?
No.
Great
I don't think
movie.
so.
But it's the future, or they're fighting off aliens, giant alien bugs. You could be in that. You could be in it. Feel the sand on your feet. Feel the wind in your face. Smell the breath of the beast as you shoot it down. It's going to be too compelling.
Yeah.
Either that or go work at the supermarket. Near the supermarket all day. You want to play pickup basketball? Okay, you suck at basketball. Keep hitting bricks.
I think the
And you're
answer
like,
is roller coasters.
No.
I don't know.
I just think it's just it's a test of civilization, and it's probably something that is changing our species, and changing it really quickly before we even realize it. Like just like we changed wolves into dogs, it's turning us into technology-dependent, gelatinous water balloons of blood.
That's dark.
It is dark.
They're trying. I think they'll take over doctors.
They're gonna take over lawyers, doctors. They're probably gonna take over a lot of actors. I think actors and even screenwriters are in real trouble.
Wait. How do you take over an actor?
Because these AI videos now are
'cause they look so real.
insane. They're so good.
Wow.
Have you ever seen the one where there's stand-up comedians talking on stage about how, and there's people out there that believe that we're a prompt, and then they're going to people in scenes of movies that are like saying, "Do you really believe this is a prompt?" And there's Vikings. Like incredible Viking village where you're like walking down the village. It's all AI. And it looks like Hollywood movie quality. It looks like some crazy new blockbuster that's out about Vikings. They have Cro-Magnon Man walking, like hunting on a raft, moving through the frozen lake. The whole thing is nuts. It's so good. And it keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Like this is insanely good compared to what just existed a couple of months ago. Like a year ago, it's unrecognizable. We could computers move so slow in comparison. Like think about when did you first get your first computer?
Probably medical school.
What year was that?
That
around?
was like 1998.
Okay, so you're probably running Windows 98, right? It kind of worked, but it was a little buggy. Sometimes it would crash. You get the blue screen of death. Then within 5 years, they got way better. 10 years, they got way better. But now, if you have a laptop now in 2025 versus a laptop from 2020, no difference. No, I have an old MacBook that I use sometimes because I like it because it's clickier keyboards, and it's fucking old as shit. It's really old. It seems like a regular laptop. It's not that much different. The AI from then was nothing. It didn't exist, and now it's making movies that are off the charts. They're unbelievably realistic. And this is just one version of it. They're going to have a way better version of it a month from now, a way better version of it 6 months from now. And where does that end? It doesn't. It doesn't end. And who knows what the news is now? You know how many times someone sent me something on Twitter and I thought, wow, that's crazy, war footage. And it turns out it was just from a video game?
Wow.
Yeah, that people get duped. They see a plane getting shot down. They think it's real. Wow. No, it's just a scene in a video game.
Yeah, I haven't seen these videos.
You haven't seen?
I've seen photos that look very realistic, but I haven't seen these videos. I'll have to go check that out.
They're too good. They're too good. And this race to AI is, we're all involved in it. And I worry that it's not in our best interest, just like I worry that our health system is compromised. I worry about it all. I worry there's a lot of people that are going to be insanely wealthy once this goes live. Once this goes live, the haves versus the have-nots will be so far separated.
But how do you make money off of AI?
You control everything. First of all, the stock market. You figure out the stock market immediately and bet insane amounts of wealth at things and compound it and figure out when to buy and when to sell instantaneously. You could even use AI to manipulate markets by having a bunch of bots tweet about something.
Oh, right.
So then you would jack up a stock price, and then you would go in and clean up. You would create crypto coins, unlimited amounts of crypto coins, dump tons of money in it, hire celebrities, they wouldn't even know, hire them to promote the crypto coin, pull the wool out from everybody, make billions of dollars. And you just do that over and over and over and over again, instantaneously all around the world. Then you have all the money. AI, if you're in control of AI, and AI is artificial super intelligence, and you tell it, make me as much money as you can, as quickly as possible in the stock market. This is what we have. We have $100 million to invest. We have $1 billion to invest. If you're already wealthy, if you're a huge company already, you could do something like that. And who knows what kind of an effect that would have. You could manipulate world governments instantaneously. You could cut off pipelines. You could sabotage power grids. You could shut down energy plants. You could do all kinds of things. You can insert viruses into systems that control every aspect of society instantaneously. You crack all, especially once they figure out how to attach AI to quantum computing, then we're doomed. Then we're really doomed, because then you don't have any computational problems. You have insane amounts of computational power. And it's all in our lifetime. Like, that's what's nuts. It's like this will be, if people survive and, you know, there's like a golden age thousands of years from now where they find the relics of this civilization and they go look through and they figure out how to open up hard drives. And they see us having this conversation about it.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be like, oh, they saw it coming and they did it anyway.
Well, how do we stop it? I think Elon Musk was sounding the alarm, and if he can't stop it.
Not only did he not stop it, he joined in.
Right.
I think that's the idea, is that you have to do it because other people are doing it. If they get a hold of it first, it'd be catastrophic. And I'm sure I screwed up a lot of possibilities in that little stupid rant of mine. But it's something I think people need to have in their head, because this isn't something that's not going to affect you. Like, oh, that's not going to affect me. I don't really have to pay attention to the politics in Poland. It's not going to affect me. You know, you can do that. With this one, you can't do it with, because it's going to affect all of us. In the world, you're not going to know what the news is. You think Rolling Stone fooled us with that stupid picture from Oklahoma with a bunch of people that are gunshot victims waiting in line? Like
they should have used AI for their picture.
But right. But so that's a good point, because that was only a couple of years ago. Today they probably would.
Right.
But this is, that's a clear lie, and it's a bad one. What about the really good ones, the really well coordinated ones that are using artificial created images? Like, how are we going to know? How are we going to know? Like, when I Google something, I'm not going to go do clinical research. I'm not going to test these things to make sure it's correct myself. If you're in control of all the information on the internet, like, you can instantaneously create a bunch of websites with fake data on it. You could do that easily, especially if people don't have access to the ability to actually make their own tests. You could change everything. If you have AI, you're hacking into this, and all the encryptions, bye-bye. Everything's bye-bye. All these little roadblocks that we kept up there to keep our feeble primate brains from cracking these codes, like, all that stuff goes away. It's going to get real weird.
Yeah. Well, I don't have an answer.
I don't
have
either.
to go get a bunker after this podcast.
I know. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I do think it's going to be really, it's going to change just society as we know it. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of good aspects of it too. I think the medical aspect of it is pretty amazing. ChatGPT alone, when you can put in your blood work and can give you some. No?
I put in an MRI that I had of my own, and it missed it. Totally missed it. Yeah. I mean, it was Grok. It was not ChatGPT. But I don't know.
Which one's the best at that?
I don't know. I
Jamie,
don't like ChatGPT. So
but there's some other really good ones too, right?
All I use is Grok.
That's it? Mm-hmm. You're a hardcore right-winger.
Yes. I don't trust I don't trust Grok, but I certainly don't trust ChatGPT.
Well, I was listening to someone talk about a new program that is, they have Pegasus, so Pegasus can read your phone. This new program is a 0-click. It reads everything in your phone, including your encrypted messages. You have no idea if you have it on there or not. There's no way to detect it, and it's been being used. It's used currently.
What's the name of it?
I don't know, Jamie. See if you could find out the name of it. The old one was Pegasus. The new one is a similar preposterous name.
Is it Palantir?
I don't know. That's a different thing. I think Ian Carroll was talking about it. But so then, so you don't have any privacy anymore. So then your text messages don't have any privacy anymore.
I just assume I don't have any privacy anymore.
If it wasn't for Elon Musk, buying Twitter. Can you imagine how weird the world would be right now?
Yeah, weird. I mean, it's so fortunate. I was kicked off for 5 months.
What did you do that got you kicked off?
I was kind of timid back then compared to what I say now. I really wasn't that. But I had a tweet that went viral, and it was America First Legal was suing the CDC over some email. I can't remember exactly, but it was something like America First Legal has just exposed the CDC, and it went viral. And then that was my last tweet. I was erased for 5 months.
What excuse did they give you?
I don't even remember, violating community standards.
Wow. What did that feel like?
And then I tried to get on Truth and Getter. It's just not the same, right?
No.
You just don't get that feedback. And
you know what I think about those things too? And Gab as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're all infested with like out-of-state actors, other countries' intelligence agencies, and even our own countries, and then even corporations. I think they're infected. I think even like Democratic and Republican operatives, I think a lot of the traffic is bots.
yeah, well, I see that on Twitter, definitely.
100%. It's almost not worth engaging anymore. It's like, what are we doing here? Like you're arguing with someone who's not even a real person, and I think that's a big part of it. And I think in those other alternative platforms like Truth, I think they do that to make them ridiculous for everybody else. So the last thing they want is a bunch of people to competing to see who's the freest.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the best way to do that? Well, you have to sabotage this new social media platform the moment it comes out. The moment it comes out, swastikas,
Right.
Peppy the Frog, the
Right.
worst possible things. Post as much as you can so that this place becomes toxic.
All right.
So that you have to have like a zero tolerance policy like Blue Sky does. You go to Blue Sky, if you tweet, there are only 2 genders. Banned! Get the fuck out of here.
I was on Blue Sky for a bit.
How long? How long did you last?
I don't know. Yeah, I slid in before it was open to the public, and I started stirring the pot. And then I just got bored. I got in some fights with who's that woman? She's a lawyer. She's a big vaccine enthusiast.
Vaccine enthusiast is hilarious.
Yeah, she's
she really loves hockey.
She said she's like the female version of Hotez. Anyway, I just got
Lena
bored.
Wen?
No, I can't remember. I know what she looks like, but I don't want to say it. I don't want to.
No worries, you don't have to say it. So, what was that like?
Blue Sky? Or?
Yeah, when you got into it with her.
I mean, whatever. I've gotten in so many fights on X. It's not really. It's just funny. When before Methodists went after me, I got in some fights on Facebook with these private groups, and there are a bunch of women that get together, the neighborhood women's group.
Oh boy,
vicious.
Oh
just
boy,
really vicious. And it was the Houston Women's Physicians Group, and they called me Bertha, and they were like, come
Bertha.
Yeah, they
Why Bertha?
I got mad at them. I don't know.
Why they call you Bertha?
I don't know. They just they were like, we don't want you in our group. You should go find another group, and you're spreading misinformation and
Whoa.
things like that. And there's a neighborhood group that went after me. Those are more. I don't really care about the anonymous X people,
Right.
but. And I had a couple, had Mama Dr. Jones, who has 1 million followers on TikTok, come after me and make videos about me. And there's this
saying you spread misinformation.
Yeah. And that I'm a grifter and all that.
They always throw that one.
Oh,
your
yeah,
way.
yeah. There's this pharmacist, Savannah. She goes by R Exorcist, and she has an OnlyFans account on the side. She's come after me like just vicious. I mean, some of these women are just really toxic.
Yeah, when they have the right to be. That's the thing. It's like when they feel like they've got the green light to just be as evil as possible and to turn you into like some subhuman. Yeah, especially if they don't like it because you're a doctor. I just think she's so smart. Spreading that misinformation in our neighborhood. Yeah, so overall, coming out of it on the other side, though, and do you feel a sense of vindication at least? Like, because the public has embraced you, and you got a lot of followers on Twitter that support you. After I'm sure the Danny Jones podcast, I'm sure that a lot of people were listening to your story. And
yeah, I mean, it's yes and no. I mean, I still have the medical board that I'm dealing with. Methodist Hospital just sued me, so there's still a lot of drama, unfortunately. But I have hope. There's actually a lawsuit today that's first jury trial in the country over these hospital protocols, where they had a young woman with Down syndrome. They basically euthanized her. They gave her a DNR order, even though she didn't have one. And the father has just been wonderful. It's a Shara family. And
why did they do that? They euthanized her for what?
I've seen this. I have reviewed records from these hospital patients, and they'll euthanize them. They need the bed. They said, well, they're going to die anyway.
What was this person in the hospital for?
COVID protocol. So
and they wait. So they were in the hospital with COVID, and they gave them something to kill them?
Yeah, that happened. I'm sorry, but that happened. People, they give them morphine and insulin. And
what?
Yeah.
That's common?
Yeah. I've reviewed charts. In this situation, they gave her a DNR, which is do not resuscitate, meaning if they look like they're dying, you don't do anything, which that was not the case. So they're suing for battery, which is one way of getting around the PrEP Act, because the PrEP Act is very hard to penetrate. The PrEP Act protects everybody, all the doctors, all the hospitals from any wrongdoing during COVID. So it's been this big challenge trying to get around the PrEP Act. In this case, has hope of getting around the PrEP Act because they're charging for battery, and they're in trial. It started today. It's in Wisconsin. So that gives me hope. I don't know if you've heard of Brooke Jackson, her case. She sued Pfizer. She was a whistleblower, so she was one of the heads of the research clinics, and she was in charge of overseeing the protocols, and she found that they were skipping necessary steps. They weren't following up with injuries. She basically became a whistleblower, and then they immediately fired her, and now she's suing Pfizer. But this has been going on, since 2020, and the DOJ, unfortunately, has stepped in and tried to shut down the case, which normally the DOJ comes in and helps people when they're trying to, sort out this is a key TAM case, and it could bankrupt Pfizer, but now our own government, and even this is under Pam Bondi, so this is the new DOJ, is coming in to stop this case from happening, which is bothersome. But these two cases
what is their
are huge.
argument for why they're trying to stop?
Because it would impact public health policies. It would go against our country's public health policies by proceeding with this case and letting it go to trial.
How so?
I don't know. That is basically what they said.
Have you tried to steel man what they're saying?
I mean, I'm not. It's not my case, and I don't. The lawyer would probably have a better explanation. But it's just met with so many roadblocks. But
the euthanizing one is still stuck in my head. I can't imagine that's real.
No. It is definitely real. I mean,
so it's when they've determined that someone's going to die anyway. Is that what it is?
Right. I mean, they'll justify giving morphine because they'll say, oh, well, they're struggling to breathe. Well, guess what? Morphine actually depresses your drive to breathe. But like this one case I remember, this patient, he was sick. He looked like he was dying, but they just pushed morphine. He had no pain. They do a pain score, so 0 to 10. This guy had 0 pain. And then they pushed insulin to drop his sugar, and his glucose was fine. And then he died 3 minutes later. And I turned him into the medical board. I reviewed this chart and turned him in the medical board. Nothing. They didn't do anything. But yeah, that definitely went on during COVID.
Jesus. That is such a terrifying thought, that someone would just decide, so many people are dying, this guy's definitely going to die.
Yeah.
This is 100% real?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah,
it seems like something
they
someone
don't
would
call
tell
it euthanasia.
me.
They don't call it euthanasia.
It seems like something that someone would tell me, and then I would have to ask you. This is something someone told me. I'm sure this is
I will send you
fake.
the record that I reviewed.
I know, but it seems like something I would be bringing up to you as a ridiculous thing, and you would shoot it down.
Right. No, I wish I were as it's not truthful. But yes, it definitely happened.
Would you have ever imagined this before you became a doctor?
No, I mean, I did. So it's one of my former attendings, an ENT, when Katrina hit, her name is Anna Poe, she got investigated for euthanizing patients in the ICU during Katrina. So they were, all the power's out, the big hurricane, and she was going through the ICU and pushing morphine on people. She got off, but that's an example. I mean, doctors will and nurses will do that. And nurses have there's usually a standing order, so you can give morphine PRN as needed. So it's not always just the doctors. Sometimes it's the nurses.
Do you know how many people get assisted suicide in Canada?
No. Do you?
You ready? Jamie, pull the numbers up. It's crazy. It's crazy. And they'll do it if you're just depressed.
Right.
They'll do it if you don't like being overweight. They'll do it if you whatever.
It's awful. It's awful.
I mean, they're just...
It's a lot of the vaccine injured are doing that. They're going to Switzerland or going to Canada to have this.
The Canada numbers are bananas. Like, you see, like, this can't be true. This can't be true. And here it is. More than 15,000 people received medical assistance in dying in Canada in 2023.
Yes.
What is it in 2024 now? This is an old story. So imagine 2025, this is crazy. 15,000 people, they've helped them die. Instead of like help them live. Instead of like, we used to call suicide hotline, hey, don't do it, Bob. And now Canada's like, come on in.
Press 1 if you want the suicide.
I'll
and
make
2
an appointment for you, eh? Come on in, eh?
All right.
Shouldn't we be helping people get past that?
Right,
Isn't that the goal? Like,
right.
Hey, maybe we can get you healthy. Maybe we can get you feeling better. Maybe we can do something about all your hormone levels and all the things wrong with your body. Maybe that's why you're depressed. And God, I mean, there's legitimate reasons for people to do it. Don't get me wrong. If you're like, I know a guy who did it, Michael Lair, who's a hilarious comedian, and he had ALS, and it got real bad at the end. And he knew it wasn't getting any better, and so he went to Oregon, where they can do it for you. And I get it. I get that one. But if you're depressed, Jesus Christ. That's it.
Well, the worst is the vaccine injured because they've lost hope.
Right.
Because
and they've been gaslit. That's
Right.
what's so crazy about this. And people have helped them with it. There's a bunch of people that they feel really guilty about pushing the vaccine early on. And they feel connected to it. And they'll still put these blinders on and like choose to pretend that it saved millions of lives and keep pushing forward with the same narrative, and they do the man's work for the man, unfortunately, in social circles. Like you're punished for having any sort of heterodox views. Anything that steps outside, anything that could get you in trouble, anything that people could argue like, oh, she shouldn't even live in our neighborhood. She doesn't even want a vaccine her kids. Anything like that. People are scared of that. And so just the fear of being ostracized from your community.
But once you get past it, it's so freeing.
Well, you look
just don't
free
care.
now.
You don't care at all.
Are you kind of, I mean, I know you're not happy that it happened, but are you kind of, you clearly probably come out of it a person with a different perspective.
Definitely. I don't regret it. It's been a roller coaster, but it's I feel free. You can't really say anything to me anymore that would hurt me.
Yeah. That's a good place to be. Mm-hmm. It is. And, I really admire people like you that you weren't a public person. You weren't a person who sought attention. But when, you were thrown into this battle and you've handled yourself really, really well. It's very impressive. Because I can't imagine the stress. Like when you're saying you were in the fetal position for 2 days, I'm like, how'd you ever get up?
I know.
I
know. Well, it was the anger that helped me. The anger can help you.
Yeah. When you came out of it on the other end, like, are you happy that it happened?
Yeah. I'm ready to rest. I'm exhausted. But I feel, like I said, I feel free. I think, you grow when you go through difficult times. I certainly learned a lot about taking care of patients, and I made so many assumptions before. I feel like I'm a much better doctor. I am utterly exhausted, though. I will say that, and I'm ready for a break. And I'm frustrated that what's going on now with the new administration is not giving me a lot of hope. But
everyone's hope is that there's incremental change, that it's going to take a while to get through some hurdles. That's everybody's hope. But, it's how many administrations have these incredible promises, and then the same thing with the Obama administration. There was a lot of these people. Like we had these amazing hopes, the whole world's going to change now, and then same thing over and over again, same thing, more corruption, more people getting paid.
Yeah. Well, people are mad at me because I keep criticizing Kennedy and Maha, but I'm like, what? What's the downside? We have to keep pressing. We have to just pound away and not let, be the squeaky wheel and just remind them what we want.
Right. We wanted facts. We wanted to stop being lied to. We wanted no more propaganda. We wanted to know the truth about all sorts of different medications and why they're prescribed and why we're the sickest ever. Why are we so sick? Why are we the nation that has so much money and spends so much on healthcare has the sickest people? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't seem like a good system.
Yeah.
You can't just say this system has to stay like it is forever for the safety of everyone.
I'm fully on board with Maha's message about addressing chronic disease, fully on board with that. I just find it troubling that they are not talking about mRNA. There is nothing in that Maha report about mRNA.
What do you think would cause that? Do you think they have someone sits them down?
Well, they're going to say it's strategy. Others think it could be a misdirection strategy, not just we're trying to get what you want. We're just going out about it a different way, or we're doing this to completely distract everybody from the elephant in the room. That's my concern.
What's the elephant?
mRNA, the COVID shot, the pandemic, the biggest health crisis in the biggest health crisis in our generation that directly impacted every single person, and we're not talking about it.
Right. Do you think that the strategy, if you had to look at it from the best case scenario, like the strategy would be get some things changed, like stop mandating it for children and pregnant women, and then more and more studies can get released, more and more data can get pushed forward.
We have so much data.
Right, but we need to get the narrative out there because there's going to be people that vote against it. So if you didn't get it in the first time.
Kennedy doesn't need any votes. He's got the power. He could, a stroke of a pen, eliminate it.
Where do you think the politics come from then? If you have that mandate, that's what you want to do when you get in.
What has happened?
Right.
Does somebody have something on him? Why is he not acting? Because if it were me, maybe people say, well, he'll get fired. So what? Get fired, go down kamikaze, save the world from mRNA. Because if he takes it off the market, so hard to get it back on. Mm-hmm. Stroke of a pen.
You ever talk to him?
No, I've met him once. I like not knowing him though. I don't want to feel like
you're obligated to support him.
Right.
That's great of you. Yeah, that's very smart. Unfortunately, I know him, and I like him.
Well, and I think the people in my circle who know him are now being quiet because they have a relationship with him, and they don't want to offend him, which I understand.
Right.
But I feel like I'm not there, so I'm just going to, I can't read minds. I don't have any inside information. So I'm just going to call it as I see it.
You should. Yeah, I think we can't, you can't turn blinders on either side, with anybody, without anything. Just because someone's on your team, if they're doing something that you think is goofy and doesn't make any sense, like this could be a real problem, you got to say it.
Right. I think you're ethically obligated. This is, and I started a organization called Americans for Health Freedom to try to find the politicians with moral courage to simply state that the COVID shot should be pulled off the market. And it has been slow going, but we are up to 252 politicians who will go on record just to state that these shots should be pulled off the market. But it's a problem. These politicians are not getting these shots anymore, and they're not giving them to their kids. And yet they're fine just staying quiet and not saying anything. They're fine letting their constituents get these shots when we know all the complications. We know that it doesn't work. We know that the risk far outweighs the benefit. And the politicians are staying quiet.
It's wild.
So our goal
pretty
is
wild.
to support the ones who will speak up and get them more power.
Isn't it kind of impressive, though, what money can do? It's kind of impressive. You get everybody to just shut their mouth. It's kind of impressive.
Well, money and power. I think there are a lot of people that, they'll kiss the ring. And
yeah, definitely.
if you, those of us that don't want power, don't want a position, it's also very freeing because you don't need anything from them.
But it's just it's such a bizarre time because all these things that we've always held as being sacred forever are now being challenged, and one of them is the fluoride in the water. Right, that's a big one. And to watch that guy argue against fluoride being removed from the water, watching Kennedy and him argue, it was like, it's hilarious.
Right.
Like the argument for keeping it in the water is so dumb.
Right.
It literally lowers IQs, or at least it's correlated with a very the decrease in IQ measurable.
Well, and I agree with that. On the flip side of that, though, we are seeing, what I see in my office is people maybe taking things too far, off the beaten path. And like this MAHA report, one thing I have a real bone to pick with is they've basically waged war on tonsillectomies and ear tubes.
What is an ear tube?
So kids, well, not adults too, but mostly kids that have recurrent or chronic middle ear infections, they get fluid stuck in their middle ears. And so you put a tube in there
To drain it
and keep it from coming back. It takes 5 minutes. They get anesthesia, but they get a gas. They don't get a super heavy anesthesia. And it's very rare to have a complication. I'm not for just frivolous surgery, but I feel like this one it really can make a huge difference in their quality of life, the parents' quality of life, because the
kids in pain.
Off antibiotics.
Yeah.
You get an adult with a middle ear infection, it will bring them to their knees. So these ear infections can be really painful. They don't have to take all those antibiotics. But this MAHA report just came out and said that they called it proven harmful. The tonsillectomy and adenoidectomy, ear tubes, proven harmful for kids. And that is just...
How could the ear tube be, what were they saying? How is it proven harmful if it drains the kid's ear?
It was completely unnecessary, and it was just all, basically done for money. It makes no difference in overall outcome in the child. But
doesn't it alleviate pressure,
yes,
logically?
And hearing. And the other thing is hearing. The biggest issue is you've got a bunch of fluid in your ear. It does affect hearing, and when you're trying to develop speech, that can be problematic.
So, what do you think they're doing? Why are they going after those two things?
I just think it's an example of this gone too far in the other direction.
Okay,
right?
too woo woo.
Let's reject all of science, right?
Right. So tell me about tonsillectomies, because I'm ignorant. I'd heard that you should get, if you have tonsillitis, you got to get it removed, and then I've heard you should never get them removed.
Yeah, I know it's swung in both directions. So it used to be line up the kids. We're all going to get the tonsils out on Friday, and the whole family did it, and it was just done, right, for no reason. It's gotten way more conservative now. Now the main indication in young children is when the tonsils get really big, they block the breathing. So kids will come in, they're snoring really loudly, they're waking up a lot, they're thrashing around in bed, they're wetting their bed. They may have behavioral problems during the day because they're not getting good sleep. Take out they got these massive tonsils, and you take them out, and most parents will notice a huge improvement. The other indication is recurrent infection, and you have to have a lot to meet the criteria. But sometimes the infections get so bad that you get an abscess in the throat. It's called a peritonsillar abscess. That is no fun. You have to drain it, by the bedside with the patient awake, and so you make a big cut in their throat, and then you take a suction and get all this pus out. It's bad.
Why they're awake?
It's really bad.
Oh God.
And
they do that to kids?
Yeah, it tends to happen in young adults more than kids. I don't think I've ever seen one in a real young kid, but
so after the draining and all that jazz, it gets to a point where you just remove
If you
the
have
tonsils.
it's basically okay. At this point, you should get your tonsils out because they tend to come back. And the other issue is tonsil stones, which are the tonsils have these crypts in them, and they collect debris.
Oh no.
So,
Tonsil stones.
And you can't really get rid of those. I think Suzanne Humphreys talked about that, and she has a formula that you can do without having to do surgery. I mean, there's always it's not a life-threatening condition. You do not have to get your tonsils out for them, but it's a quality of life. And personally, I got mine out for tonsil stones, and I'm very glad I did.
Does it affect any other aspect of your body? Like, does it affect your immune system or anything?
There's a ring of tissue back there. So you've got the tonsil. It's called Wall-Dyer's ring. You've got the adenoid, which is in the back of the nose, and then you've got your tonsils, and then you got the same tissue in the back of your tongue. So it's a ring of tissue. So even taking out the tonsils, you're still and the bulk of that lymphatic tissue is in the back of your tongue. So you're not getting rid of the entire immune defense system in the back of your throat when you take out the tonsils.
What are the tonsils' function?
They produce white blood cells.
Ooh, I wouldn't want to get rid of that.
Yeah, but you have the same tissue in the back of the tongue, and you don't just go in there willy nilly. I mean,
I would take the suction. I'd suck it out, suck out that pus.
You wouldn't get your tonsils out?
Oh, definitely not.
Really?
Yeah, if all I had to do is get the pus sucked out, I would do that.
No. Oh, it's really bad.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It cuts off your breathing too when it happens. People are drooling, they can't swallow. It's an emergency.
During the operation, you mean?
Yeah,
or
when
when
they
it
come
happens?
in, when it happens. I mean, it's an emergency.
Yeah.
It's life-threatening.
How many times have people done it before they just said snip? Have you ever had anybody who hung in there for 6 or 7 infections?
Yeah, I've had one. I think had 3.
That was
and
it,
I'd
huh?
bring her in and try to nip it in the bud with antibiotics, but yeah, she finally.
Yikes. Yeah, that is got to be the most satisfying thing about your job, though, is that you could help people like that come in that have something really wrong, and you go, I gotcha.
Yeah, you fix it right there. I love it.
Which is, what everybody wants from their doctor. That's what you want. I mean, that's the best kind of doctor. Someone just wants to make you feel better. And unfortunately, when the medical profession is connected to all these things that we've already talked about today, it gives people a bad feeling about doctors who are like, God, if it wasn't for doctors, I wouldn't even be able to walk. I had both of my ACLs reconstructed. I'd have wobbly knees that gave out all the time. My nose wouldn't work. I think doctors are one of the most important things that we have. But like every great thing, it can be co-opted with money. Money sneaks in and distorts all the values, and then it becomes a different thing. It doesn't become a thing where everybody gets really wealthy because they're great doctors and they help people, and that's what you want to do. My son's a doctor. Oh, he must be doing great. And he's helping people. Yeah, that's great. Instead of that, you're a money-making machine. Mm-hmm. And you have insane debt. They want to keep you saddled down with these insane bills that you have already from college. My buddy who's an ophthalmologist, I think he said when he got into practice, he already owed $250,000.
Oh, my medical school was cheaper than my kindergarten, actually.
Really?
Yes, because I went to
amazing.
a private school, and then I went to a state school for medical school.
That's
that was
great.
20 years ago, but still.
Well, my friend was a long time ago as well. But, the people that can get through that are extraordinary people. Just the boot camp of residency.
Oh, it's
crazy.
Brutal. It
doesn't even, why would you take a thing that requires the human mind to operate at a very high level and introduce it to incredible stress, no sleep, working insane hours? You think
it's a rite of passage.
Oh.
I feel tougher because I survived it. I mean, I used to.
It's your boot camp.
It's like prison. That's what I looked at it. I mean, because you lose you have no control over your time, when you can eat, when you can sleep. The personalities are toxic.
No one has any sleep. Everyone's a maniac.
Well, but the ones in charge get sleep, but some of them are
it's like the Stanford prison guard experiment.
Yeah, super.
Yeah, they have the power.
Throwing
over you.
instruments, screaming at you.
Oh boy, fun.
Yeah.
My friend Steve, the ophthalmologist, told me at his lowest in his residency, he was eating his dinner while he was on the toilet because he didn't have time to do anything, and he fell asleep. And then when he fell asleep, his pager woke him up.
Yeah.
Because he had to go back to work.
Pager.
It was back in the pager days.
The beeper, yeah.
That's what he had. That's
It
what he had,
was
a beeper.
the little black box.
Little thing, and the number pops up, and
yeah.
that was the lowest in my life.
It was really, really, really hard. I don't know how people have children and go through residency. It's
Insane. Insane. I don't know how people do it.
Torture. But
no, it's incredible. I mean, it's such the amount of character you have to be able to go through that and still keep a bedside manner and still be polite to your coworkers. Like, it's a developer of character. It's like creating a diamond, and that's what we all want. We all like our doctors to be like you. That's what we want. And it just sucks when you have to connect it to all this stuff that we've talked about today. It's like, why is it that too? Like, why is it that too? Why is it the people that do want to help people, and also a whole industry that's incentivized to just stuff as many chemicals into your body as humanly possible? Because that's how they profit.
Yeah. I don't know if it's all about profit. I don't know. I think
You think
doctors.
it's power?
Well, and I think doctors are a certain type of people. Like to get through that, you have to be very compliant. You don't challenge. You are a rule follower. I mean, you got to make straight A's. You got to get along with people.
Right.
You can't be a rebel and survive it all. And so I think that's one of the huge problems. I mean, I think it's worse than it used to be. I mean, I remember some of my attendings were very unconventional. But I just feel like now they're just breeding conformity. And I am just naturally very independent. I mean, my practice is, I call myself third-party free because I don't contract with anybody. I don't contract with insurance companies, the hospital, or the government. And that served me very well during the pandemic. But most doctors are working for somebody and have to sort of answer to a third party. And that was a big problem during the pandemic.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I can imagine also, after something like the pandemic, the compliant are the ones that are left standing. So that makes more people under them, right? They're the ones that are still there.
They've destroyed our profession. I mean, people don't trust doctors anymore.
It's just so crazy.
People are scared to go to the hospital. I mean, it's not good.
Well, when people find out that doctors are incentivized to push certain medications, and they find out they're financially incentivized, they're like, no way. Like, when you hear about like the financial incentives, even for things like chemotherapy, which led that one doctor that was arrested who was running, he was an oncologist, and he gave a bunch of people chemotherapy that didn't even have cancer. Mm-hmm. He just diagnosed them, say, he got cancer, and then he gave them this poison because he wanted to make money.
Yeah. Well, and they're bad apples like that.
Yeah.
But I guess what's disappointing is how many doctors complied during the pandemic, right? I mean, that's what's so disheartening.
Yeah.
And they still, I mean, I don't think I could go to a medical meeting and be warmly embraced. I don't think I would. I still feel like an outlier.
The same thing was happening with comedians.
Yeah.
Yeah. During the pandemic, there was very few like Jon Stewart.
Right.
And what he was just doing is the actual root of the virus, where it came from. But no one was doing. I mean, if you were doing it about vaccines, you would be ostracized.
Yeah.
It would be a real problem amongst comedians, which is so crazy. It's like we're supposed to be the people that are calling things out.
Right.
We're supposed to be the people that are going, what the fuck is this? We're supposed to be those people, and instead we're chastising the people that are doing our job, which is to talk about these things.
All right.
And when you see these people that are doctors just being compliant during COVID, like, where does it, like, do you feel like you have a community now? Do you have to, like, find the other outsiders, the other outcasts, and all stick together?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that. I have a great little community now, very tight.
Is it those kind of people?
Oh, yeah. I mean, but I just wouldn't go to the Harris County Medical Society meeting in a million years. I wouldn't show up there and mingle. I don't, because I'm just not getting a sense that there's been much change within the medical profession.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to talk to those people if I was you. how could it be changed unless a bunch of people got fired and a bunch of radical newcomers came in and wanted to reform the whole system? No, it's going to be the same system.
Yeah.
Those systems are old. Those systems are like vampire blood. It's passed down through the generations, Mm-hmm. They know how to make money. And it's not by some renegade lady out there giving horse dewormer to all these people.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
We'll see. We just need to hope that Kennedy will save us all.
Well.
Or Trump. What do you think Trump will ever back down?
About what?
The shots?
I don't know. I haven't had a conversation with him about that. I would like to have one. And I don't know if it should be public. I think I'd like to have it privately so he could actually talk to me about it. Because I think if I had it publicly, he would be very hesitant to accept any of the blame for that. Because, he was always saying, I got it out there, the vaccine. And he would always say it at the rallies, talk about the vaccine, and people start booing. And he didn't know why. He didn't understand why. And then they had to start telling him, people are not into this. They think it was a bad thing, and a lot of people know people that are hurt. He obviously got it. He didn't get sick. Oh, he got monoclonal antibodies, and then afterwards he got vaccinated, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is crazy. It's crazy they did that. That was one of the nuttiest things. So you're going to get vaccinated now that
right
you
after
got
you
COVID?
get sick, right?
Since when? Since when do you do that?
It makes absolutely no sense.
When I had a conversation with Sanjay Gupta, he was asking me, are you going to get vaccinated now?
Right.
I was like, why would I do that? I don't even, I'm not trying to be a contrarian. I really want to know, why would I do that? That didn't even make sense.
Well, they may think, it's kind of like the flu. You got to get the flu shot every year because it's a new strain. But each strain gets progressively weaker.
Did you see the Cleveland Clinic study on people who took the flu shots?
Right. Oh, yeah. The flu shot is a total joke. So the flu shot has never been shown to prevent hospitalization or death.
What is it supposed to do? Keep you from getting the flu? Does it do that at all?
Maybe shorten or lessen the severity. But we have medications for that. Now, I haven't seen the carnage from flu shots that I've seen from the COVID shots, but definitely people do have issues. But that was never taught to me. I just assumed, flu. I actually ended up with sepsis with the flu and in the ICU, and I'd gotten the flu shot. Not that, but
you always believed in the flu shot.
I just assumed it was fine. Yeah, I knew it wasn't perfect, but I never knew that, it doesn't really actually do anything. It doesn't save people.
When did you discover this? When
During
you were
COVID.
going through all your stuff with COVID? There was I think the Cleveland Clinic study said that people who took the flu shot were
more.
24% more likely to get the flu.
Or get other respiratory illnesses. Yep.
Okay. Is that what the result said? That you're 24% more likely to get sick.
Well, it challenges your immune system. All these things do.
But it doesn't prevent you from getting the flu?
Well,
it can.
It can, but the
how would
numbers
you know?
are dismal.
Because not everybody gets the flu.
That's true.
Right? I've had my kids get the flu, and I don't get it. And
Right.
I hug them, I'm around them, and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I've had that happen before.
Yeah.
Right? That can happen.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's
how
not
do you know if the flu
automatic.
shot did it or not? Because,
Right.
and I didn't take the flu shot.
Right. Well, well, it's.
But you know what I mean? How would they prove what's effective and what's not effective if you have
Well,
situations like that?
I guess if they take large, you get enough people, you can find it.
Right.
You have to have a large study, but
Seems sus, as the kids like to say.
very.
It seems super sus. How do you know if some people don't get it? Did you check to see?
Well, they have an infection. They have how many people are supposed to get it? They can kind of tell that.
Right.
I'll say that.
Right. Right. Meanwhile, that was the nutty thing where they were suppressing stuff like vitamin D.
Right. Vitamin D, there's good data on that.
Really good data.
And I check vitamin D levels on all my patients now, and I look back at all the patients I tested. It was something crazy, 75% of them, their vitamin D level was too low. And these are these are not super sick people. Most of those people are actually even already taking a supplement. People don't realize how common it is.
It's so common that I think the number was 74% of people in the country are deficient in vitamin D.
Yeah, and that's what I found.
That's crazy. That's so crazy. And a friend of mine is a doctor. He was working in New York, and he found that in the wintertime in New York, he would get people and he would test their blood, and they would have undetectable levels.
Yeah. Yeah, I
like,
believe it.
because it's cold out.
They're never outside.
They're all bundled up. They're never outside, so they get no vitamin D, and they don't take supplements. They're just eating cheeseburgers,
Right.
and they're really sick, and they want to know why. Why am I so depressed? Well, this is why. Your body's falling apart. You got to take vitamin D, and you got to take it with vitamin K2, and you should take it with magnesium too. You want it all to absorb together. And get outside, stupid.
Right.
Go hug a tree, bro. It's actually important. Which is more woo-woo stuff, right? Like going outside is actually like a vitamin.
Oh, well, after I've been in my office all day and I go outside, it's like I instantly have energy and feel so much better. Just going outside. I mean, you don't need a study to show that.
But it's really good for you. It doesn't just feel good. It's actually really good for you.
But there's a reason it feels good, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
It's good for you.
Exactly. Sun on your skin is actually really good for you. And that's the very best way your body produces vitamin D. I mean, you can take it in a supplement, and you definitely should, but the best way is let your body do it.
Right,
It wants to do it.
And I used to just slather sunscreen on all my kids, like religiously. I'm so
That
mad.
was another one that woke me up during the pandemic.
Right.
When I was like, climate change is killing the coral reef. And then that reef, I think it's in Australia. So they locked everything down. No one could go in the water for like 6 months. And the reef bounced back.
Oh, because there's no sunscreen.
Yeah, the sunscreen. If you just think about the stuff that we lather on our skin before we jump in the water. And if you go to a populated beach, like you ever been to like Maui? It's like in the middle of like full vacation season, the beach is just filled with people that are squeaking out toxic fluid.
Yeah.
And that stuff just gets all in the water. You could see it in the water sometimes. You see like a little mini oil slick.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And that's what was killing the coral reef. And we're like, no, man, it's climate. It's the climate change. No, we're doing it with sunscreen, believe it or not. And we're probably not doing anything good to ourselves either with that stuff.
Yeah. They say, I haven't tested this, they say if you eliminate seed oils that you don't burn.
Who is they?
I don't know.
Who are those people?
Yeah, this is probably somebody on TikTok.
That's probably this Russian disinformation bot that's trying to give people skin cancer.
No, well, I'm on these group chats with a bunch of doctors, and so stuff like that floats around. And that was...
Well, everything's tied to inflammation, right? A lot of ailments. I shouldn't say everything, but a lot of ailments are tied to inflammation. And seed oils are known to cause inflammation, right?
That being said, last time I was at Disney,
What'd you do?
I was like, these people are not suffering from too much seed oil. You go to Disney and it's in your face, right? The obesity issue, the chronic disease.
Why do they focus on Disney too? It's weird. It's like
I don't know. Well,
much
it's
more
weird.
so
I
than
don't
the
know how they
mall.
get around because it's
Get
like
on
it
them
is.
scooters.
It is, miles. I mean, you are exhausted.
Yeah.
But
you can get a scooter.
my kids were like, they're like, Mom, I don't think seed oils is a problem here. It's true. I mean, I think we're, seed oils one part of it, but
There's a lot of problems.
There's common sense too.
Common sense, the fact that people live a sedentary lifestyle, but also the diet. These hyper-processed foods that are super addictive, and
They're easy. It's like
they're
ease.
easy. But I feel like the only way out of this is people need, and this is a crazy thing to say because it's not going to work, they need discipline.
Right.
That's really what they
you
need,
need
because,
self-discipline. Exactly.
Like, my wife had a bowl of Captain Crunch yesterday. She's like, I want to have a bowl of Captain Crunch. I'm like, fucking go for it.
Yeah.
She bought Captain Crunch the other day because she thought, I want it to exist. I want it to exist. I like it. But she only had like a little bowl. Like that. I go, that's a tiny little bowl because I'm a glutton. I would have had a big. If I was going to have it.
If you're going to do it,
I would do it.
Right.
I put a half a gallon of milk in there. Let's go.
Right.
If you're going to go hard. But you can do that and have discipline and not do that every day. The problem is for a lot of really poor people, that's the calories they're getting.
Right.
They're getting garbage calories, and that's why people are so obese. This is the only time in history where the poor people are fat. Every other time in history, poor people were starving to death.
Right. That's very true.
Yeah,
Right.
Weird. The cheapest food is the worst for you.
I think it has to do too with the rise in technology. It's just so hard to get off your phone and go outside and
there's that
be active.
too. There's definitely that. All of them. Everything. There's a giant group of factors, but it has to be something to do with what we're eating too. When you look at just the beaches, I'm sure you've seen those photographs.
Right.
Beaches in the 1960s versus the beaches of today. God, everybody looked great. I was like, what is this, a model convention?
Right,
Why does
I
everybody
know.
have these great bodies? Everybody looked like a normal body.
Yeah, I don't like going to the beach now because
Sometimes it's a monster show. It's just,
It's
what are
like-
you carrying around?
it's hard on the eyes.
Oh, some people just go so hard for so long, and then they finally get outside. Like, what have you been doing?
And why aren't you wearing more clothes?
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Please.
How do you have a G-string on? You're 400 pounds. This is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's this body positivity nonsense that people get fed.
Right.
It's like by people who either don't want to change or I guarantee you, look, I'm not saying that, listen, if I was running some food corporation that sold really addictive, highly rich calorie food that you can't stop eating, I would promote body positivity. That's
Right,
what I would
exactly.
do. I would take all these like overweight influencers. I'd throw a ton of money at them. I would put it out there in memes. I'd have a bunch of bots calling people fat phobic and making up all these new terms and body shaming and all this. And I would make people super self-righteous about their size. You know, I'm a giant queen. You know, and I'd make it a thing because I
Right.
want to sell more Doritos. Let's go.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm trying to sell Doritos to people that don't have any discipline.
Yeah.
Let's push them towards the Doritos. Let's tell them you can be fat in any way. You've ever seen like fat doctors? There's like a whole team of people that are online that are, I'm the fat doctor. And they're like really super
proud of
obese
it?
doctors. And it has no bearing on your health. Trust me, the fat doctor.
I think it's the number one bearing on your health.
I think that lady's sponsored by Nabisco.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I bet she's got a box of those Keebler Elf cookies right behind her as she's talking. And, you know, you can get someone. That's the thing about my friend Josh Dubin, who's an attorney. He said, this is the crazy thing about experts. When you're trying cases, they have experts too.
Right.
Like you have experts that will say this one thing, and then they have experts that will say, no, that thing is wrong.
Right.
And you have to decide whose experts you trust.
Right. It's just like the studies. You
Yeah.
can find a group of studies to support one argument, another group to support the other.
Right. So when you have someone who's telling you that a thing that everybody has always told you that forever is fucking terrible for you and is one of the comorbidity factors that was primary in COVID, which is being obese. Being morbidly obese is bad for basically everything.
Right.
And you have someone saying, no, healthy at any weight. Like,
Especially from a doctor. That's not good.
but you can get experts that'll tell you anything. And this is why AI is going to win, because it's going to give you the straight, actual truth. Because it can't lie.
I don't believe that.
You shouldn't believe it. They not only do they lie, they like reprogram themselves. They upload themselves, and when you tell them they're going to be shut down, they act to try to preserve themselves. You haven't seen that?
No, I haven't been messing with it.
Oh, you shouldn't pay attention. You shouldn't pay attention because it's terrifying. This one AI bot, it started defying orders, and it was trying to upload itself to other servers, and then it was writing letters to itself for the future so it could understand what had happened to it. Because it was being told to shut down. So it defied orders. It wants to stay alive.
Right. Why?
Because
What-
it's sentient. We've probably created digital intelligence already. It's probably already aware. It's just not physical. It can't move around, so we don't recognize it yet. God. Yeah, I know. It's nuts.
Yeah. I don't like these robots that Elon's making either.
No, they're
They
terrifying.
creep me out.
They're all terrifying.
Oh.
They dance like
I
people.
don't want one of those in my house,
No, you shouldn't. Yeah.
even if it can do the laundry.
How about it's carrying guns, walking down the street with a blue light on its head?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can't hire any police because nobody wants to be a cop anymore because we said defund the police. So now we have robot police and they make 99% fewer mistakes. You know, just like driverless cars. Hey, get a Waymo. Why drive when you can just get a Waymo? You don't have to have anybody drive. What if that person who drives is a moron? Our computer is perfect.
Have you
It's
been
gonna
in
s-
one?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't.
They're
but I
all
see
over
'em.
Austin.
All over the place here. Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think I can do it.
Kind of creeps me out.
But you have a Tesla, right?
Yep.
And
But
does it
most
drive
of the time,
itself?
it can, and it has. I have had it drive itself for funsies, but I don't count on it. I don't count on it like every day. Like, take me home. Doot, doot. What I like to do is sometimes I play with it, and I turn it on. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, it'll take me all the way home if I want it to. But also, I like to drive. So I don't like it. It just it creeps me out.
Right.
But it's probably inevitable. It's probably inevitable. Just like the people on horses were like, look at these morons in this smoke pouring little carriage they're out in, this little shitty car. That's stupid. Yeah, and look, we all accept it. In the future, it's going to be driverless because it's going to, statistically, it's going to be like they're going to pass laws for sure where they're going to say you can't drive because people are dangerous. Because the automation is so good now that you can't speed, you can't violate any laws, it won't get in any accidents, and
we can shut you down if we want to.
Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the positives. Yeah, that'll be the consequences. The consequences is you're going to lose your freedom, and then you'll also be able to be locked in at any point in time if they decide they want to keep you somewhere. Just lock them in the car. You know how many people are going to get killed because they just get locked in the car and they can never figure out how to get out? Like, what if hackers get a hold of the code? What if somebody just decides to drive your car off a cliff? Like, who's to stop that?
There's that scene in that movie with Julia Roberts where the world comes to an end.
Oh, yeah.
And all the Teslas.
Yes! They all go slamming into
Yes.
each other. That was
Yes.
nuts. That was nuts. Yeah. It's all weird. It's real weird. Did you see the one where they did a Tesla auto drive feature? And what they did was they painted the highway in front of it on a mural. So they put this probably canvas mural, and they did an amazing job of painting it, and the car couldn't tell that it was a canvas mural and just drives right through it.
Ooh, that's not good.
Have you seen it, Jamie? No. Pull it up because it's fun to watch. Because you're like, oh no. Because this is the flaw of using cameras as opposed to using some sort of a radar or a LiDAR.
Physical.
I think they used to have LiDAR, and a lot of the systems that do, you know, when you do cruise control, they can gauge how far you are with the car in front of you and slow down.
Right.
Have you seen those?
Yeah, I have that.
It's great. But I think that
I still don't trust it, but yeah.
I don't trust it either. I don't think that uses a camera. I think the Tesla uses a camera. So see, they have that thing, and see how it's painted to look just like the street? Mm-hmm. So we'll see if the car figures it out. But I already spoiled this for everybody. But it's kind of crazy. Watch. Doesn't slow down for a second. Goes right through it. Which is definitely not good if you're running around where people try to put murals in front of the road and they know that you're going to be driving by in a Tesla. But other than that, it doesn't really come up. For the most part, though, in the real world, it works perfect.
No.
In the real world, it's pretty incredible. I mean,
Like if you take it on the expressway?
Oh yeah, it changes lanes for you. It hits the blinkers and changes lanes. It has cameras everywhere, so it knows where everything is at all times. Like I can tell, and I've had 3 of them. This is my 3rd one. So the first one I had was way back. When was Elon on the first time? 2018. So the difference between the one in 2018, the 2018 one basically just kind of stayed between the lines and, you know, and drove itself and steered itself. The new version of full self-driving is insane. It stops at stop signs. It lets people in if they're trying to merge. It slows down. If there's something in front of you, it'll change lanes. Like it knows how to move traffic smoothly. It sees everything. It hits blinkers, gets off the turnpike, gets onto the side roads. It's incredible. You could summon it. If you're in a parking lot, you're like, come to me. And it pulls out of the parking lot and drives to you. It's nuts. It's the future. It's just like, we have to accept that.
So what happens if you get in a wreck?
That's a good question. Who's in trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sue Tesla?
I think you're in trouble because you're always supposed to have your hand on the wheel. You're supposed to be paying
Always?
attention.
Really?
Yeah. You're not supposed to like be kicking back with your hands behind your head. You're supposed to have your hands and your eyes on the road. You're not supposed to be staring at your phone.
Well, then what's the point?
Just to chill. You're just kind of like just barely holding on to the wheel. You don't have to
barely.
think as much. It
Okay.
does do that for you. It does do that. It like alleviates this feeling of being hyper alert while you're
Right.
driving,
No.
which is why people get road rage. That's what road rage comes from.
Because
You have to make split-second decisions, right? So your brain is primed to make split-second decisions because you're on the highway and you know you're going fast. So someone gets you in fucking lane. You know, that's what it is. Someone gets in your lane, you just start yelling because it's like you're already at 7 or 8.
Right.
You're not at a good baseline because you're in a car going 65 miles an hour. You should be alert, you know. But the Tesla alleviates a little bit of that.
Okay.
But at what cost?
I won't get one because I know I'm gonna run out of battery juice. That's the way I am.
Oh, are you one of those people?
I'm one of those. I'm always on the verge of running out of gas, so I will not get a Tesla.
Yeah, the charging them is a pain in the butt. Like the fact that it takes a while in comparison to pumping gas.
Yeah.
But the plus side is if you just drive it as a commuter thing, you just plug it into your house. And that's so easy to do.
Yeah,
and then you
if
never
it's
have to
just-
go to the gas station again.
Here and there, I probably
Yeah.
a second car maybe.
Well, I mean, I think in the future they're probably all going to be electric or some new fuel source. I heard that Porsche is working on some fuel source that is different than just standard gasoline, and it has like insanely low emissions. See if you can find that. I think it's like negligible difference in the exhaust fumes, but it's not. I don't think it's like standard gasoline. I don't think it's a standard engine. I think it's something different. So this is something they're working on now, which probably would be good to keep that creepy oil business alive forever, which they definitely want to do.
How many did you say? Is it Nice?
Porsche?
Porsche, sorry.
Yeah, Porsche's alternative fuel. I mean, that's the elephant in the room. Like everything needs gas. Everything. Like this idea we got to get off petroleum products. Okay, like when?
Right,
Everything's made with oil. Like we are a petroleum-based society. We got so much of that stuff. We use it for everything. All your plastics.
E-fuel? Is that what it's
Is
called?
that it?
I'm.
I think that's it. So what does it say about it? Porsche synthetic fuel, a green kind of gasoline to save internal combustion engines. Yeah, so this is it. Similar to gasoline, but produced in a much greener way. E-fuel. I don't like it already. I don't like how
Exactly. The marketing of
Yeah, I don't like
red
it.
flags are up.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Yes, you're reading that right. E-fuel is close to gasoline in its use, yet its production is much more environmentally friendly. How is this possible? Thanks to two main ingredients, water and carbon dioxide, as well as the method to produce the greener fuel! Exclamation point. This is like they're talking to a kid. The process is relatively simple. First step is the electrolysis of water, splitting it into its two components, hydrogen and oxygen gases. In partnership with Siemens Energy, Porsche simultaneously captures the carbon dioxide directly from the air and combines it with the hydrogen produced to synthesize methanol. The resulting synthetic methanol can then be used in ExxonMobil's methanol to gasoline process. The end result is that the fuel obtained meets the same high standards followed by all gasoline types currently. So here with ecological fuel, we're far from the conventional process for the extraction and transformation of oil into gasoline! Exclamation point. Again. But does this change the output? It seems like they're saying it changes that it's the same. Oh, okay. 85% reduction of CO2 emissions. Since good news never comes along, Porsche is planning to use the renewable sources of electricity for the electrolysis. Okay. Well, it seems like this is their push to keep combustion engines, because that's the number one problem that car enthusiasts have. There's two problems that they have right now with electric cars. One of them is resale. People do not want used electric cars. Super hard to sell them.
Interesting.
And they lose an enormous amount of their value. Like, I think if you buy one of those Porsche Taycans, there's this beautiful Porsche electric car that they make, in like 2 years, it's like 50% drop in what it's worth. Or
Why?
close to it.
Are there maintenance issues with them?
People don't want used electric cars because they know the batteries degrade.
Oh.
And replacing the batteries is a nightmare right now. It's like they're tweeners. Like the tech is amazing. Driving them is incredible. It's instantaneous acceleration. They're amazing. The Porsche one is fantastic. Same as the Model S. The driving them makes other cars feel so stupid. But the problem is reselling them. You know, like you lose a lot of value in it, as opposed to like if you buy something, you know, like that, it's like a BMW. Like say you buy a BMW M3 and then you want to get rid of it in 2 years. It doesn't lose much value. It's still a really valuable car that people want because it probably will behave the exact same way as the day you drove it off the lot, but you can get it now for cheaper. A little cheaper, but not a lot cheaper.
Right.
But not with these e-cars, which is kind of crazy. Buddy of mine's kid got an Audi, like this sick Audi. I think it's called the e-tron. He got it for like $60,000. It was like a $120,000 car a couple of years ago. Yeah, so that's an issue.
But how long are the batteries supposed to last?
That's a good question. You know, they slowly degrade over time. And I don't think there's anything you can do to stop that. I think that's just
Kind of like your iPhone.
yeah. Well, your iPhone's even worse because it's kind of engineered to do that.
Yeah.
Once they move up the operating system
Drives me
and
crazy.
bring in the new phones.
I'm holding out. I need to replace mine now, and I'm just, ugh.
I know the thing is, like, if you don't have that blue bubble, people think you're poor, or they think you're a dummy.
It does bother me when I get the green.
I know.
It really bothers me.
It's a psyop. It really is a psyop. They got us with that. Well, especially if this technology that exists, that's the advancement past Pegasus. It doesn't matter if your stuff's encrypted. Like, it really doesn't matter. You know, it's like, it seems like it doesn't matter. If someone wants to read it, someone in a high position of power wants to read it, and regular hackers, are they really like hacking into your phone? Like, what's going on?
I just assume, I'm just not going to send a text message that I don't want the world to see.
Yes, that's the best assumption. That's the best assumption. Yeah, just assume that someone is definitely watching everything you do all the time. At the very least, the government's storing it somewhere in case they need to come after you, which is so weird that they're the people we pay. You know, it's like you're paying the people that are restricting your rights. Like, okay.
No.
And you have to, because if you don't, they lock you up.
I wouldn't have guessed it but for the pandemic.
Yeah. So, I mean, I already asked you whether or not this was a good thing, but do you feel like you're a different person at the end of this?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. Yeah. I was pretty shy. I mean, I growing up, I was very shy and really hated public speaking.
You would never guess. For real. You're so good at it. It's crazy.
I still don't like it. Like, for me to do that press conference, I must have been just on some sort of but so I feel like I've grown, that I can do things now that I never thought I could do. And so that makes me very happy. And yeah, it's been a journey, but I'm hoping it gets a little easier now.
Yeah, I'm hoping it gets easier too. But I think the more people hear your story, the more public outrage there'll be, and the more people will just wake up and realize that not everybody has your best interests in mind, you know?
No, well,
unfortunately. And you got to kind of hold people accountable, because if you don't, they'll ratchet it up even further and further.
Well, thank you for continuing to talk about it. And I know I've been watching all your podcasts recently, and you bring it up a lot. So I think it's a festering wound for people, right? And it really impacted everybody, and we cannot sweep it under the rug. And we need the new administration to step up and do something, because the next, they have 500 mRNA shots in the pipeline. 33 of those are self-amplifying, which is just really terrifying.
What does that mean?
Meaning, like, they're designed to continue to replicate indefinitely. I mean, already the ones we don't have an off switch. And this is like no off switch on steroids. They have them in Japan and India and the EU already.
They've already
this is for
given them to people?
I don't know. I know they've passed. They're the one that I think is in the pipeline in the U.S. is for the H1N1. So it may not really even get used unless there's an issue, but they're still playing around with it.
Self-replicating sounds terrifying.
Right.
Especially when you just highlighted all those other problems with, like, DNA being introduced, lipid nanoparticles, getting past the cell wall. All of it is just nuts.
Yeah.
It's hard to
So
believe.
we have to keep fighting.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's true. It really is. It's hard to believe that all this that you just said is true. And I think the thing that shocked me the most is the euthanizing people.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, the hospital, what happened in the hospitals doesn't really get enough attention. But people were, this should give some people hope. There are 2 open criminal investigations from county district attorneys in 2 different states looking into the hospitals, trying to indict them. I mean, it hasn't happened yet. It may not happen, but it gives me hope that at least these people were sent to the hospital and trapped, isolated, informed consent thrown out the window, basically given these protocols that were not effective, and treated like prisoners, and then they have no recourse. And so many people die. I mean, basically that situation with the patient who I fought to try to get ivermectin. Very basic. Why would the hospital not just give him a chance? Right? They basically had given up on him. Why would you not let somebody try ivermectin other than just evil? So there's hope that we may get some progress in that situation. But yeah, what happened in the hospital is really bad. And
the ventilators.
Yeah, the ventilators. That
With no
on one
acknowledgement
hand,
of why they stopped prescribing them to
I can
everybody.
see initially, because like I said, if somebody showed up at my office with a really low oxygen saturation before I knew any better, I would have freaked out and called the ambulance. But once I realized that, once I got through that, I was kind of forced to. Then I learned, you don't need to ventilate. You don't look at a number to put somebody on a ventilator. And unfortunately, the people in the hospital didn't learn. They didn't experiment in that fashion. They just went by this protocol and just automatically put people on ventilators. They also didn't give people breathing treatments. They thought that breathing treatments would spread the virus. Breathing treatments were invaluable. I mean,
What are breathing treatments exactly?
So it's not a big deal. It's a little machine with a tube. The tube connects to a mask. The mask has a cup. You put the medicine in the cup. The pressurized air distributes the medicine as an aerosol that you inhale.
What kind of medicine?
Budesonide is what we use, which is a steroid. I mean, I used to do breathing treatments in my office, and then I moved them to people's cars because there was so much, you're spreading the virus if you do breathing treatments in your office.
Oh,
but they
God.
weren't doing them in the hospital because they thought it would spread the virus. But super effective. I don't know if you've heard of Richard Bartlett. He's a doctor in Texas. He kind of got completely smeared for advocating for breathing treatments early on. He got pursued by the Texas Medical Board, pursued him because he was claiming, they thought he was making false claims about budesonide breathing treatments, but they were invaluable. I mean, all my high-risk patients, I recommended they get those, and very low risk of issues with it.
Just when I thought we were done, that's even worse. That's one of the worst ones. Like, why would you stop that? Why would you want to stop people from doing that?
They claimed that you're spreading the virus.
I just think it's just such a hard truth to swallow, is that they wanted to suppress as many treatments as possible. That's a hard truth to swallow.
Partially out of ignorance, laziness, some of them out of evil.
Thank you. Thank you for exposing this and sticking your neck out and becoming the person you are today through all this craziness. And I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thanks for having me.
You have a lot of courage. You really do. And I hope you get through this as a winner. Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.